evening, good afternoon, good morning. Have I missed any out?
I don't know. Are we doing the start of the Truman Show?
I don't know. I mean, in case we don't see you, good night, good morning, good afternoon, or just whatever time of day it is. Hi. Welcome to the Blood and Muds rugby podcast, allegedly. I'm Josh. You probably know that already. And you will not know, or you may not know, that not joining us this evening is Lee. He's a bit under the weather today. So, ably filling in, we have, you may know him as Will Owen. I know him as Will Owen. It's Will Owen. Hi, Will. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm Will Owen, for those who do or don't know me. At first, when you said you won't
If there was any
know,
confusion.
I thought oh, right, that's a hell of an introduction there. You definitely don't know this guy.
You ain't got a fucking
like
clue who this guy is. I mean, I don't know where we got him from, but he's here, so, you know. No,
Yeah.
you will, of course, know Will from the Squid Rugby World Cup retrospective podcast, or possibly playing rugby, you know, in the sort of Midlands, if that is your vibe.
Yeah. If there's any sort of people who are like historians on really, really shit second team scrum halves, then you will definitely know me.
You feature prominently, yeah.
Yeah. Especially the shit bit. That's the important
I mean,
part.
look, we have a minimum standard of entry for this podcast, and being a broadly terrible rugby player is definitely up there. Although you actually played in the game that the Nick RFC game a couple of weeks ago, didn't you, with Lee and with Cammy and Johnny and Sam Lana and all of the other various people who've been on this podcast over the last couple of years. How was that?
It was all right. I mean, the thing is, I've had to open by saying how terrible at rugby I am, because now people involved in the podcast, people who listen, have actually seen it and actually know that. So I can't pretend I'm any good anymore. So I've kind of got to finish my career there. But no, it was good. It was good. I feel like the big embarrassing thing is that I'd been to training twice that week, and I felt probably on the same level of fitness as everybody else who was there, when really I'm younger and I am still playing, so I should have done a lot better than I did. But no, it was good fun. It was the hospitality there was good, and it was especially good to see Lee Calvert's game management prowess. I think that was going to say
he's taken a lot of pelters for that kick.
He did play well though, Lee. He did play well. I was
going to say, well. I wanted to say, outside of that kick, which I think we can all universally agree was a poor decision, brought on by intense fatigue. Other than that, I feel everybody else seems to think that he gave a very good account of himself. I'd like the word to go out that he wasn't as bad as that kick made him look.
No. He was very good. And also, I did one kick in the whole game, and I'm pretty sure they scored off the immediate phase from that. It's either it was within 3 phases anyway. So basically, they did a lot better off that than I did with my kicking prowess. So Lee's winning in that circle.
Indeed, except in the health circles, because you haven't got, you're not sitting in bed miserable right now. So
that's true. That's true. I'm sat. It
all comes around. Yeah. See, this is where usually I would expect Lee to kind of sort of zhuzh us on through the podcast, but or at least sort of, tell me about what DIY he's done this weekend. Have you done any DIY this weekend, Will?
I've done 0 DIY this week. In fact, no, that's actually a lie. I've done more things that could be interpreted as DIY than I would usually do on a weekend. I held up the roof of a new ship we're getting.
Hello.
I had no involvement in the strong, which is a hell of an opener.
Honestly, that's one of the worst things you can ever be asked by a workman or a tradesman of any kind, because you have absolutely no idea what his scale of measurement is for that. So me feeling strong could be the equivalent of him on his absolute worst day, and probably is.
And that's it. It's directly proportional to their scale of irony. And I couldn't quite figure that out either. How ironic he was being of oh yeah, you're feeling strong. I've got 1 brick I need you to carry. Or, are you feeling strong? Oh, I need you to, tackle Ardisavia.
How sarcastic is this thing that I'm going to have to lift?
Yeah.
Can we establish that before we agree to anything?
But no, that was fine. That was, as I say, the most DIY I've done all year was briefly holding up a shed for about 45 seconds. And while I did it, he asked me what was new in the world of rugby, and I just went,
Quite a lot, to be honest.
I don't know, because evidently somebody has explained that me and my immediate family member that we do not speak of are involved in rugby. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's evidently good small talk.
Yeah. And I mean, what's new in the world of rugby union is just a real fucking cast your net wide and hope for the best kind of conversation starter.
That's it. I was thinking, like if I was,
where do I need
yeah, go on.
Where do I need to onboard you from here? Are we talking 2003? Are we talking?
That's it. Like, if I was asked by him, then it's like, oh, I don't know. I can maybe tell him about, I guess Ulster lost last night. Whereas if I was asked by someone like, I don't know, Jiffy, I could maybe explain 1-3-3-1 structures and stuff that have come into rugby in the last 20 years, and maybe help him out a little bit. But I think our shedder, as we're calling him, was probably a bit more up to date.
So I just want to clarify here. Why was Robbie not also asked to feel strong in this? Or was this a communal? Did he just magically disappear when heavy lifting was required?
Because Robbie's grown up and moved out. So
and
actually lives by himself and stuff. Whereas I'm still here living with my mum. So
times is hard, aren't they? And I was, to be honest with you, I was shocked at the notion of Robbie having a shed. So, it makes much more sense now, and I'm fine with that. Good.
Yeah. My mum is entirely responsible for the shedding ideas.
Really got to be careful how you word that. But it's entirely appropriate. Let's face it, that you've done the closest thing that you've come to doing some DIY in the immediate lead up to this podcast. I think we should probably have it as a kind of a barrier of entry.
Like, I think it was like a Beetlejuice moment that as soon as it happened, I got a message from Josh Gardner like, "Do you want to come on the pod this week?"
I've already done some DIY. Do you want to come on the podcast this week? That's going to be my opening gambit for any guests we have from now on. Anyway, hi everyone. We are apparently a rugby podcast, not a shedding podcast. Shedding just sounds wrong.
It does. I regret that already.
It feels like something to do with skin, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But you can, of course, get in touch with the Blood and Mud Rugby podcast at Blood and Mud, which is Lee's handle, or at Josh Gardner, or at Rugged_mag for me. How can people get in touch with you, Will?
I've checked this since I last came on the podcast because I forgot my handle that time. It's Will_Owen9 on Twitter or Instagram or what else is there? Bebo, probably. I don't know.
Bebo, yeah. Samson Lee's still on Bebo, so
of course, scared of no fucker.
Scared of no fucker. Still, oh god, it's been 5 years and that still brings me joy. It really does.
He loves playing with his balls. It's his favorite activity.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't blame you for getting your handle. I regularly still say the wrong handle for my media brand that I can't be bothered to do anything with now that I have a small human to look after. And I've been saying it every week for the last 2 years. So people will find you. They can Google you. It's easy.
Sure. Yeah.
If you can't work out how to Google someone, how have you managed to listen to this podcast? For starters.
It always reminds me of when people say like, "Oh yeah, you can listen to this podcast on this, this, and this." And it's like, hang on, I already am listening to this. Yeah. I've got this far.
It's sort of a weird like stylistic like thing that we have. So all the entire podcast fucking like gestalt as like adopted as this. We need to tell people where they can get our podcast, as if somebody's just like playing our podcast in a cafe or something, and people are like, "Oh, where can I listen to this then?" Oh, well, we're available on iTunes, Spotify, Acast, all the usual places that we are on, and like it's like who doesn't know how to find like
the podcast we're already listening to.
Yeah, like who doesn't like it's bad anyway, but we are on the Sports Social Podcast Network, which is which is not where you get the podcast from, to be fair. So you can find out more about us there by simply Googling Sports Social Podcast Network. We're on there. You can find all our backup episodes. You can find some very hastily written bios about us. And yeah, we're also on Patreon. Is it Patreon? See, Lee always says this bit, and every time I always just think, is it Patreon or Patreon? I don't know.
It's the wordsafter.com I'm waiting for you to say, Josh.
Yeah, Patreon / Blood and Mud is the one. Slash.
There we go.
See, fucking hell.
Give the people what they want.
Honestly, you let that guy go for 10 seconds, and already I'm forgetting the ultimate hook for our fucking show. But anyway, yes, you can go Patreon / Blood and Mud. You can find all of our extra fun bonus episodes. £2 a month will get you into the Alley Brew Lounge. £5 a month will get you into the VIP area where there's some nibbles and a higher quality of cordial, because nobody likes the cheap cordial, do they? Really? Let's be honest. I'll tell you what's a swizz, right? Double strength cordial. And indeed, I was at my mother's on the weekend, and Tesco now sell quadruple strength cordial. And I'm sorry, I just don't believe it. I don't believe that it is quadruple strength.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's branded in such a way just to tempt people into buying it.
Well, they've blatantly branded it as like, oh, it's quadruple strength because it's absolutely fucking jam-packed with sugar and shit. And so they've gone, oh, well, a serving is just this tiny little fucking, 2 drops in the bottom of a fucking glass. But nobody's doing that. Who actually reduced their fucking, like, this is the thing, who's reduced their cordial, like, measurement for double or quadruple strength? Because nobody has. I don't care who you are.
You've got a chart on the wall of like, what strength cordial you're having.
I'm still putting the same. I'm still putting the same amount of fucking of squash in or cordial or whatever as I have in since I was a fucking nipper, regardless of whether it's double strength, quadruple strength, or regular good old fashioned single strength. I just think it's a good old Swiss.
Yeah. I remember
the word go forth.
When I was a kid, I'd like one of my favorite drinks was Ribena. The Blood and Mud podcast, sponsored by Ribena.
If only.
And
fucking hell.
Yeah,
we'd be drinking Ribena flavored my size.
Yeah, I'd have my Ribena, and then we reached a point where we decided to switch to sort of own brand blackcurrant cordial.
Yeah, that was to everyone. Yeah.
And we reached that point, and it was so weak, like the strength of it, that it reached a point where I'd keep adding more and more before I water it down, that I got told off by my parents multiple times for having too strong, own brand blackcurrant cordial. Look,
there were times when I would occasionally take a little nip of the neat stuff before I was making it, and I'll tell you what, that is, as a child, that is a trip, because a child's physiology was not meant to take that level of concentrate of sweetness and sharpness in one. Oof. You're exciting me just talking about it. Honestly, we're all going to go away now, and we're going to have a little nip on our on our neat squashes when we're done, and we're all going to feel very good about ourselves and not sleep tonight because we'll be fucking bouncing off the walls. But yes, if you like squash chat and all of that sort of stuff, by all means, select yourself a membership level from our Patreon, and you not only get access to all of our back catalogue of podcasts, and we've done various kind of Team of the 90s stuff, and we've done history podcasts, and we've done all manner of stuff. You also get entry into our super secret private Facebook group where there is a good level of chat, and you also get to contact us via the Patreon messaging service, which is what beloved patron Johnny Ball did to send in the way that we traditionally start this podcast, which is, of course, with a player spotted. And Johnny says, I've got a player spotted for you. I was in a new hipster coffee shop in East Belfast that replaced 2 previous hipster coffee shops in that site that lasted no more than 18 months between them, having replaced the family-run bakery that was there for 30-odd years. Fuck gentrification. That was a mouthful of a subordinate clause there, Johnny. But right there with you in fuck gentrification stakes. Although I do like a pretentious fucking bakery, to be fair.
Of course. The thing is, I'm wondering where this player spot is going to go. Because,
well, indeed.
I mean, you've obviously read it, but there's several options here. Like, is the coffee shop owned by a rugby player? Does one just walk in? Does one walk past? Like, if this was in Wales, the odds on it being owned by Let's say
Well, I would say
Stuart McCloskey for
in
conversion's
general,
sake.
a pretentious coffee shop is possibly the most fertile hunting ground for a professional rugby player that I could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
So Johnny continues. While I was getting my coffee, I vaguely recognised the barista, a very unhipster type himself, huge,
Ooh.
massive head, massive hands, and a very shiny bald head. He struggled to put the lid on my wee 6-ounce flat white cup with his gigantic hands. As I was leaving, he suggested we follow his social media, pointing to the sign on the till for @Baldy Barista, which I am now going to Google, obviously.
Yeah, I'm on it right now.
And he said it was only after checking it out that I realised it was former Ulster and Worcester prop Callum Black, who I subsequently found out is leaving behind the Northern Irish coffee scene and returning to England to loom over espresso makers elsewhere.
Wow. Did he have a stint at the Dragons, Callum Black?
The
No, I think it
name
was Adam Black, maybe. I vaguely remember Callum Black.
This is the thing about why I think we've had some player spotters recently that are far too interesting, like partying with the Beast in France after France won the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
We like these things to be mundane as possible, and for me, there is no more perfect example of a mundane player spotted that a player that you don't even realize is a professional rugby player until you look at his Instagram afterwards and go, oh, he is
a
player that I barely remember.
The perfect player spotted does involve you scratching your head of going like, oh, I vaguely remember that player.
That guy. Oh yeah, he played 43 times for Worcester and 145 times for Ulster, and then went back to Worcester again. 2 caps for Emerging Ireland though, which is unbelievably mundane levels of stuff.
Yeah.
But
it does mean that he was tied down to a national team, which is something you can take with him forever.
Yeah. Indeed, he was born in America as well. Surely he would have had better luck declaring. Oh no, he was named to the USA Eagles roster for their 2018 mid-year tests. This Wikipedia page is fucking lying to me. See, there we go. I was going to say, why on earth did he stick with Emerging Ireland and not just declare for America and get a cap?
The amount of players that you wish would do that. I mean, namely, I'm thinking Sam Underhill, so England can't pick him. But still,
100%. I desperately wanted him to play for America instead. And also, Hanley Dirksen should have just declared for America instead of weirdly continuing to make himself available for Wales when it was abundantly clear it was never going to happen.
Yeah. But he did sign for an MLR team, like on
yes,
loan.
He played for New Orleans, and then I think he's back in Wales now, but just not playing rugby.
I have a feeling he's playing like for Swansea RFC in the Premiership or something. But
yes, he did. I did find there was something about that I saw quite recently. Yeah, where he was named on a team sheet, and people were like, "Huh."
Yeah. And no matter how old he's going to get, he's going to keep popping up, isn't he? He played an uncapped game for the USA, didn't he, when he was like 17?
He did. Didn't he play at fly-off? Which just is a fucking whole thing.
I remember like there being loads of speculation around the 2011 World Cup of like, we've not got any fly off. And believe me, as you know, me and Robbie have gone over the entire Rugby World Cup in 2011. And believe me, they were correct. They didn't have a fly off that was any good in that World Cup. They'll probably have been better off with Osprey's 17-year-old winger, Hanno Dirksen, instead. It was baffling that they were calling for that.
But also, entirely, he should have done it.
Yeah, you should have.
He could have had 50 caps for the USA instead of the no caps that he's got now.
I believe he's got a younger brother who got 3 caps for the USA or something.
I can believe it.
If I could be making this up, but I believe that happened. I think I'm pulling the name Cornelius Dirksen out of my arse here. But...
Oh, hello. That's worth a Google. Cornelius Dirksen.
This could be a player I've made up on a random name generator or something. Not that I would ever do that. But...
Cornelius Dirksen is a real rugby player, according to ESPN Stat Guru.
So far, so good.
He had indeed 2 played for the USA A and USA on the wing, 5'10", 189 pounds. Played 2 matches in 2012. both of which were in Colwyn Bay for some reason.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot they did that.
He played against Russia and against Tonga in Colwyn Bay.
Wow.
And did not score a try.
It's mental that there's somebody who's played most of their caps for the USA in North Wales.
In Colwyn Bay.
That's
incredible.
Phenomenal. But also, I think that the fact that I've just remembered Hanno Dirksen's shit younger brother Cornelius, who played 3 games for the USA in 2012, and the fact that I don't remember Callum Black that well off the back of that, shows what a great player spotted that is.
Absolutely, the Mundania. Although Johnny does add that Callum Black was also responsible for introducing hipster donut shops to Northern Ireland through the company he owned with Darren Cave. Unfortunately, he left that business too, I assume because Cave's facial hair is untenable day to day. I can believe that. Darren Cave's got a remarkably... When you look at Darren Cave's head, it's just shaped really weirdly. Like, there's nothing... It's not wrong, not sort of like unattractively in any way, but it's just...
No.
It's a weird old shape.
It's like, it's one of those where you have to look at it for a second to figure it out. Like, it has to fix you.
Yeah, 100%. You've got to sort of... You have to... You think about it, and then it's sort of like... He looks like he's wearing like a sort of Transformer outfit, almost. It's like there's too many angles, you know? It's
sure,
like,
yeah.
You know, Optimus Prime's face is slightly angular.
Sure.
Like,
I think that's the first Optimus Prime Darren Cave comparison to ever happen.
I think it probably is. But... It's the last one as well, I would imagine.
But, I will add, though, that Callum Black introducing hipster donut shops to Northern Ireland, he could have done that in the USA, but no.
No. But it's a much harder market in the USA.
Yeah, that's
true. There's you've got Dunkin' Donuts, you've got Krispy Kreme, you've got all those guys, you've got the big dicks. You can't, you can't just. Although it must be a much easier market. But generally, what's your position on hipster donut shops, Will? Because
it's a good question. So I mean, there's different angles to this, because you often look at them and you go, that looks nice. Then you see the prices and you go, no, fuck that. Like within like it's an instant response that the brain has to say no, fuck that.
Yeah.
As soon as they see the prices. So I think I've only ever had, like, let's say Krispy Kreme donuts or something, when somebody else has bought them and suddenly they taste amazing because you've not paid for them. Whereas I imagine that the taste of shame of spending that much on a donut would probably outweigh the positives of eating the thing.
I will say that there's nothing that, like, no food more consistently makes me feel hungover 10 minutes later than a Krispy Kreme donut. Like, it tastes very nice at the time, but I can't help but feel like the level of sugar and saturated fat in that is genuinely, it's basically like going out on a night on the Raz in terms of what it's doing to my equilibrium and my general fucking... The sugar high is so intense. The come down is almost instantaneous. It's remarkable.
Because you see all the glazing on the top, and that's what draws you in. And then as soon as you pick the thing up, you see like all the sugar on the bottom as well, and like that's before you've even bitten into the thing. Like,
I know.
The main thing about those though is that not enough of those companies are run by former Ulster players, and that's
indeed
draws me into brands. Is
me too.
How many caps for the Irish Wolfhounds the people who set it up may
exactly,
or not have.
Or indeed your Emergent Island I'd settle for.
Yeah.
Speaking of going back to Cornelius Dirksen, do you know Toby Lestrange was starting for USA at fly off in both of his matches? So his test career mirrors side by side. Somehow he got 13 caps, Toby Lestrange, despite not being Jason Strange in disguise.
I mean, he was the man that kept Hanno Dirksen out of the fly half jersey.
Exactly.
Clearly, he was a very confusing player, Toby Lestrange. Aren't they glad they found AJ McGinty when they did?
But genuinely, and you go, it's like, oh, so we can just we don't have to worry about the fly half jersey now forever. Okay, yeah, because we'll literally keep picking him until he dies.
Yeah,
Toby Lestrange played for London Welsh, didn't he?
Who played for London? Lestrange, he did, didn't he?
He did. Well, I don't.
Him and Piriwipu was a halfback combination.
Yeah, which is just fucking mad. Yeah, they signed him. He was one of those players that they signed in that mad, oh fuck, we're getting promoted and we didn't expect it. Shopping sprees around all the unbelievably mediocre players you can imagine.
Sure, yeah.
Like,
And this was Piriwipu after he'd spent, had a 6-month residency at the, fancy donut shops.
Yeah, this was Piriwipu eating nothing but fried butter. It was.
Fat Scrum-halves are one of my favourite breeds of human being.
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started on Portland, because then I'll just start talking about Ricky January and why he's the best player that the Ospreys ever had.
We'll get to him in news.
Oh, will we? Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, very exciting. Oh, no, well, I feel like we should go on to news now. Yeah, so hipster donut shops, we're not sold. Although I do like donut time in London, to be fair. Oh, interesting USA declaration news from Stu Clark. Tommy Seymour will be able to declare for the USA in December if he fancies coming out with retirement. Do it. Fucking do it. Honestly, I'm so up for all of these recently retired or soon to be retired old shaggers just fucking... I'm full up for Zach Mercer declaring for the All Blacks and going and playing. We talked about this last week, but it's like, fuck it. Zach Mercer's eligible to play for New Zealand. He can't play for England. Go and play some Super Rugby where you'd be brilliant, and also solve the All Blacks 8 problem. Not that they've got an 8 problem, but like the All Blacks backup 8 problem.
Sure. Have you seen about Maxime Mermoz is allegedly declaring for Algeria?
Oh, I love that
which
shit.
Is incredible and heroic, and he's been retired for years. And like, more of it, please. Like, send Tommy Seymour on a 6-month loan period to an MLR team. Get him to play 3 games off the bench just so he can get a cap.
Yeah, why not? Like, and also, like, particularly in France, like all of the lads of like North African descent who have had a couple of caps down the line. If I fucking Fulgence Odrago, like he hasn't played for. I know he's 35, but why doesn't he just fucking declare for Burkina Faso?
Yeah.
Like, why not? Yeah. It'd be a load. Let's take this shit back to the 90s and have just
100%.
mad players turning out for like obscure teams and getting them within a couple of games of a Rugby World Cup. Why not?
Yeah. This, of course, since Spain qualified for the World Cup, there's been talk about Geordie Murphy, and it's like he has to do that or no balls whatsoever.
Oh yeah, he's got to do it. 100%.
Yeah. Josh McLeod was also born in Monaco.
Hello.
Was it Monaco? Yeah, somewhere. Anyway, I believe that he is Spanish qualified, Josh McLeod. And look, I know Wayne Pivac is desperate to make him happen, but let's be honest, given the way things are going, Wayne Pivac will probably be coaching Spain within a year, so he can still make him happen. If he's that
but how great would that be if Wayne Pivac rocks up in Spain and his first act is to call up Josh McLeod? You'd love it, wouldn't you?
It would have the vibes of like Mark Lievremont on like his 3rd or 4th game in charge, picking his younger brother.
Picking his younger brother, yeah. But his younger brother in this case is just a flanker that Wayne Pivac really likes for some reason. Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Johnny, for your extremely uninteresting and therefore interesting player spotted.
The best kind.
The best kind. Should we do some news then? Please tell me this Ricky January news, because I'm very excited now, unless he's done something awful.
No, he's not done something awful, but he's playing his last game of rugby this weekend.
Oh, what?
Yeah, which is why I felt really bad as soon as you got excited about Ricky January news. And look, it's great to be talking about him, because...
Look, I, for one, am amazed that he hasn't already retired.
Yes.
Because he did not look like a man that had a body that was built to be playing into his 40s.
No. So yeah, I believe he's just turned 40, I think, or around that. And he's playing in Fédéral 3, I believe, so the French 5th division of rugby. And yeah, probably playing in the front row by this stage.
Has he got any eyes left? That's all I'm worried about.
I don't know, but I imagine that there's whatever is left of him, there's a lot of.
I'd be amazed if he has somehow kept his conditioning up in Federale.
Yeah. But he's a hero, Ricky January, and like
absolutely
sort of 8 or 9 Ospreys caps. He really like captured the region.
Genuinely, I loved him. I did not want him to leave. I really wanted us to keep him. There's very few Ospreys players that it's probably him and Jerry Collins I associate most heavily with the Ospreys gold kit.
Yes, yeah.
Like
Marty Holler, he had the Ospreys scrum cap as well.
He did.
Yeah, I loved that gold kit. I wore that
Me too.
everywhere. Um,
I hated it. I sort of took the piss out of it on Twitter, I think, when it came out and was like, fucking, this is ridiculous. And then I bought it and I loved it. So
yeah. There's a Philo Tiatia is another player I associate with that era of the Ospreys.
I just loved he was such a, because wasn't there a big furore about his because that was the season of Ospreys European furores, wasn't it? Because it was there was a complaint over his registration because we signed him on loan. Because was it Mike Phillips or was it Justin Marshall that got injured? Somebody got injured anyway.
Yeah, I think we just flogged Justin Marshall and then Mike Phillips got injured, like a long-term injury.
And then we had the whole 16 men Leicester Tigers on that season as well. And then we had the whole absolutely getting robbed out in Biarritz. In the quarterfinal, which
I think I've actually watched that game back about 5 years later, and it's almost like I should start a podcast watching old games back from rugby that no one cares about. And it still felt just as infuriating, and that was I don't really do the thing very often of slandering referees, but I think it's safe to say that game shaped how I felt about George Clancy for quite a long time.
It's just continues just exactly how I feel about him, and I will never forgive him ever.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the announcement about Ricky January's signing, and it said Mike Phillips, Jamie Nutt-Brown, and Tom Isaacs were all at varying stages of recovery from injuries. Fuck me, Jamie Nutt-Brown and Tom Isaacs, when Tom Isaacs was still regarded as a 9.
Yeah.
Don't tell me this was the
decent player, but not a 9 by any stretch.
Not a 9. And they were worried about leaving Liam Davis, who.
Liam Davis was, I believe, the first person to play for all 4 regions.
Oh, was he really? I thought I was Tal 7.
Basically, he was. Oh yeah, no, he did it before Tavis. I believe maybe one of the Brews might have done it as well. But Liam Davis, of course, when you say he's the first person to have played for all 4 regions, he's the first person to have been sacked by all 4 regions.
I genuinely, and I was extremely Ospreys focused at this point. I could genuinely say I could not pick him out of a lineup if you put a gun to my head. But yeah, they were concerned that they only had Liam Davis and some young tyro called Reece Webb on the books. So, I mean, to be fair, Reece Webb was quite crap at that point, I remember.
Yeah. There's, of course, the video where, the famous video of Paul James getting absolutely lamping Perry Freshwater. It's on YouTube in European. And there's a point where the camera cuts away to like an 18-year-old Reece Webb, and it just looks weird. And that's what I think of when I think of that era of Reece Webb.
It's because he started fake tanning afterwards. So what we got was, for very briefly, we got Reece Webb at his real colour. And ever since then, we've just had increasing, shades of orange.
Yeah,
it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right for him not to be orange now.
It kind of happened by osmosis because he was hanging around with James Hook, Lee Byrne, Shane Williams.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
And then they all left and retired.
Probably
and now he
literally
just
rubbed off on him. Yeah. Literally rubbed off on him, and then it's like, you can see the Bridget, when he was playing for Wales Sevens with players like Lee Sims and Jonathan Jones, and do you remember Haloti Molatika?
I do. That's Mama's son, I think.
Brother or something like that,
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing ever came of him, but I remember there being, I think, very, very minor. Ooh, look, there's a Polynesian lad playing for Wales Sevens. Isn't that interesting? And then he was never seen or heard from again. But anyway, so congratulations, Ricky January, on a long career that I don't think anybody I don't think anybody anticipated Ricky January to still be playing when he was 40.
Yeah. And at the same time, I never thought he would retire.
No, indeed.
The thing that I think is impressive.
He's just inevitable. Yeah.
I think if he had bothered looking after his conditioning and stuff, he could probably still be going at MLR level. Instead,
I can believe
he decided burgers and cakes, and you know what? Good on him, because so do
Absolutely.
I.
I think I
could get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, it is the Piriwipu diet, and And Periwipu doesn't. I would wager that Periwipu regrets absolutely nothing about his career. He won a fucking Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. And those are probably two of the absolute goats when it comes to fat scrum halves.
Yeah.
And one who I love is the recently sadly departed Taniela Moa, who was phenomenal for Tonga in their win over France, famous one in the World Cup. I think that's kind of the holy triad of fat scrum halves.
Of barrel-like little. And see, the problem is like a modern barrel-like scrum half is fucking Antoine Dupont, and that does not count.
No. You get no hero points for that, my friend. You have to be Weepu size or further.
Yes, indeed. But honestly, I bloody love Periwipu. I love that he just came and played for London Welsh for some reason.
Yeah.
And then somehow ended up at Wasps, despite clearly being hideously unfit at all times for London Welsh.
That sounds like that ended badly.
I mean, I think he only played about 5 or 6 times, and then he fucked off to France. But like, it was one of those things where, like, genuinely, it was a state how bad things were at Wasps in about 2015-ish, before they got money and they were desperately trying to not go out of business. That it was just like Periwipu, yeah. But he looks like he literally hasn't run in about 3 years. Doesn't matter. Sign him. He's cheap.
Sure. Was that when they were signing like Curtly Beale and Villy LaRue and everybody?
Oh no, this was way before then. That was when they were there. That was like when they were sort of careering towards bankruptcy, and were just genuine. Like Dai Young was genuinely just signing anybody. I think at that point, I think
he'd had a dab of Ribena.
Well, he was just slightly pre-Dai. Yeah. Anyway, why are we talking about Periwipu? The Urk is getting a second division allegedly, which is
interesting.
Or the Welsh Shields. It might as well be rebranded. Ho ho ho.
Yeah. And the great thing about all of these things, whenever they happen, is that there can be more conversations on Twitter about whether there's too many regions or not enough. Because those conversations don't really
sounds like we need more all of a sudden. If there's going to be a pro division, if there's going to be an Urk de, then surely, I mean, let's be real. 3 of the bottom 6 teams in the Urk this season are Welsh, so there's not a lot of call for Welsh teams in the top division at the moment, I would imagine. But I genuinely, as much as people are fucking losing their mind about this, and understandably so, because basically they've got to put the cheaters and the kings somewhere, because it's not fair, and presumably potentially the Pumas as well, I think.
Sure.
And so that's 3 teams. Stick the Italian teams and 2 or 3 of the Welsh teams in there, and maybe a Georgian team, and a team from the moon and a team from the South Pole.
Some of the Super Cup teams. Get the Delta in there. Get Tel Aviv Heat in there.
Yeah, get Tel Aviv Heat in there. Why not?
Yeah. Look, might as well get Josh Strauss back to Scotstoun some way.
Indeed. Well, he wouldn't be playing against Glasgow, mate.
No, that's true, actually. Yeah.
Away days in Tbilisi and Newport. And
the 2 biggest hotspots.
Absolutely. Genuinely, though, I don't think it would be the worst thing if they, if we're serious about player welfare and the need for players to play fewer games, then 2 divisions of like 8 or 10 teams, and then like make them play less games. As long as the like derbies were protected so that they could sort of exist outside of the divisions. Let's face it, if they don't want to reduce the player welfare shortfall, they could bring back the Rainbow Cup as a proper knockout tournament and play that as like the like an unseeded like winner stays on cup.
Sure, I think that's a good idea. And look, the Rainbow Cup has never not been won by Treviso, so hopefully that's a tradition that would be upheld.
Carry on. Exactly, it'll be a chance for Treviso to win it every single year.
They don't know how to lose it. There is no way.
No, indeed. They literally get into that. They turn into fucking Turbo Leinster as soon as the words Rainbow Cup are uttered.
And they get Carlo Gavisi back for those 2 weeks.
Yeah, he just comes back for the 2 or 3 weeks of the Rainbow Cup and then goes back to Montpellier. Thank you very much. I genuinely fuck it. I don't really care. Like,
Me neither.
it's
That's
like,
literally my thoughts whenever I see said conversations on Twitter. It's just like, do what you want, lads. It's fine.
yeah, there's some people that are only ever going to be happy if the Welsh teams are in the English league, which is never going to happen.
Mm.
And everybody else seems like if the Ospreys were winning most of their games, or Cardiff were winning most of their games because they were in a sort of second tier irk, and then there was promotion and relegation between those two divisions, I think there'd be some, it's that, or Welsh Rugby Union has to fund the regions properly, and I think
Sure.
that this is more likely than the other one, despite
Yeah.
what Nigel Walker's been saying this week.
Yeah. As soon as you say fund the regions properly, it's like, right, can we get that second division going then?
Yeah, so Irk B, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. How can we get the RGC in?
Finally get, yeah, oh God, they're going to stick the RGC in there, aren't they? And they're going to finish bottom every year.
Yeah.
It's going to be embarrassing. And then eventually they'll oh God, no, somebody's going to ask for Ponty to be involved. Has someone already asked for Ponty to be involved? I assume they will.
It's probable.
Fucking that Owen bloke has said that Ponty should be in the Irk B. I could almost guarantee it. I haven't looked, but I bet he has.
Yeah, it's amazing that I know who you mean by that Owen bloke, probably having seen his Twitter handle like twice. Because there's that circle.
He gets everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a very small circle of like people who are very angry about regional rugby all the time, and like I genuinely just don't have the effort. Like despite being somebody that is very angry about Welsh regional rugby a lot, I just don't have the energy to just go around in circles talking. But some people genuinely do, and to them I say, good luck to you, and I hope that you enjoy it, because it seems very repetitive to me, and I genuinely don't understand how you all do it.
Yeah, it's one of those things like when the Blues changed their name to Cardiff, it was just like, okay, like that's fine because it will shut some people up. I don't care, so I'm fine with it in that case.
To me,
yeah, but it does to some people. Some people really care about this.
Yeah, and if it makes them like 10%, if it makes somebody 10% happier, and for a rebrand that literally must have cost about 15 grand, including doing all the fucking stadium signage.
Sure. Which is done by Falfalise, of course. He does the signage at the Arms Park nowadays, which is important.
Indeed, obviously. It's more power to you, I say.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy. And equally, if Ponty being in the Irk B and getting absolutely battered by Treviso and the Kings and the Cheetahs and whoever Georgia decides to enter every week makes you happy, then let's just let it happen. Let's just let it happen. See what happens. Any other news from you?
I don't think so. There was the whole thing about there was a rumor about Johan Cunningham getting shafted to the under-20s when he's doing a really good job with the women's team, but it looks like that's not happening. So that's good.
That is good. Yeah, I heard that rumor. I was like, oh, come off it.
Yeah. But they have said that they've not had any discussions or something like that. So I think somebody's either misheard something or made something up. But like, if they're moving Johan Cunningham like anywhere, it had better be because they've got Warren Gatland on board. Like that's the only excuse for moving Johan Cunningham.
Like he's clearly got a project that he's got a vision for.
Yeah,
and it would be a real shame for him not to be at least given the fucking World Cup, which is not very far away. Yeah, I'll just give him the world. Just give Johan the world. That's been the Scarlets' policy for the last sort of 10 years. Eventually, Johan will have the world. But no, he's doing a very good job, and I hope he sticks around. Dean, who isn't sticking around though, is Dean Richards, who's stepping down as director of rugby at Newcastle at the end of the season.
Is he now?
Yeah, presumably to spend more time with his very clear conscience. In all seriousness, though, big loss for he's been there for 10 years now. And let's be real, when he came in, the thought of Falcons providing multiple promising young England squad players would have been a punchline.
Yeah. They're everyone's favourite hipster club, aren't they?
They are a bit, yeah. It's like they're sort of like the Burnley of the Premiership in that like they don't particularly. They never really set the world aflame, but you can't sort of have a begrudging respect of the way they go about their business.
Sure, yeah. It'll feel weird him not being there. I can't
will.
imagine anybody else taking that helm.
Well, apparently Dave Walder, who's currently head coach, is going to step in as director of rugby. Nick Easter's fucking off as defence coach at the same time, by the way, which is
Fair enough.
interesting. But yeah, apparently Dean Richards is going to be moving. He's talking about moving upstairs. So basically, he's gone.
Okay.
I've given you 10 years of my life. Now give me a seat on the board and a plum salary. You shit. And they've gone. Yeah, fair enough.
Also, thank you for just reminding me that Dave Walder exists.
Honestly, it's until if you had put a gun to my head and asked me who is the head coach of Newcastle Falcons at any point before I read the story where Dave Walder is going to take over as director of rugby at Newcastle Falcons, I genuinely would have just been shot in the head because I would love to have given. I would have gone through I think 1,000 names before I'd have come to Dave Walder. But yeah, apparently he exists, and he's
yeah. You know that thing where like somebody retires from like a middling Premiership player retires from rugby, and you just assume they stop existing from there on out.
Yeah,
that with Dave Walder.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, last I heard, he was like went off to Japan. Wasn't he playing for like the Dynaballs with Shane Williams or something like that?
Was he?
I think he was.
I feel like you're onto something. Yeah. That sounds about right. I remember that they had Stephen Donald played at the same time as Shane, didn't he, at the Dynaballs?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think it's either Isaac Ross or Tom Donnelly. I get those two mixed up all the time. One of them was there at the time as well, the All Black second row.
I can believe it.
Yeah. Which is really weird to think because the Japanese second division was really punching at that point.
It really was. Colin Slade's there now, of course. In other players that you forgot existed until I just mentioned him.
Yeah. It baffles me that he's still going because he's been around for a long time.
Well, it felt like Colin Slade was the heir apparent to Dan Carter for a very long time and then just wasn't.
Yeah,
and then went and played for Poe for a bit.
Yeah. It's what I like about both Colin Slade and like Tom Taylor is another one who's just playing in the Japanese leagues. And like they have both just cashed in on the fact that they replaced Dan Carter a few times when he was injured. And just gone, well, do you know who I am? I've got 4 All Black caps. Slade's got a few more, but yeah.
I came on for Dan Carter on 3 occasions, and I regularly used to come on in the 75th minute of Crusaders games when Dan Carter couldn't be bothered to play anymore.
Exactly. And in Tom Taylor's case, he's got a famous dad. So
he has, yes.
Yeah.
No wonder he's absolutely he's playing for. Of course, because Poe basically just went the Dan Carter apparent fucking lottery, didn't they? Because they had both Colin Slade last year. They had both Tom Taylor and Colin Slade on their fucking books, which just what a concept. Like, could they not have just got Aaron Cruden as well?
Point, didn't
they? They did have Smith at one point. They really went shopping for All Blacks, and some of them were good.
Conrad Smith has said in the last couple of days as well that he's going to play for the Classic All Blacks against Spain this summer.
Nice,
which is exciting. So he's in his early 40s. So that would be a hell of a test match, especially if Geordie Murphy and Josh McLeod are playing.
Hell yeah, it is. Do you want to know something perfect?
Yes.
In 2013, Tom Taylor made his debut for the All Blacks, starting ahead of Colin Slade at first 5/8. After injuries to Aaron Cruden, Bowden Barrett, and Dan Carter. I mean,
and all the other fly-offs.
You could not have summed up all of those players' careers in more perfect, sort of beautiful. It's lovely. Anyway, so yes, no more Dean Richards. Dave Walder still exists. I've not got any more news. I assume there probably is some news. Keelan Giles signed a new contract with the Ospreys.
That's nice.
I'm glad for him because he's had some shit luck with injury, but like, who cares, really?
Sure.
I assume other players have re-signed and other players have not re-signed. I think we've covered all the bases there.
Yeah. I'm happy.
Harley Worthy says Newcastle are a Northern Exeter without the racism. I mean, that is sort of it, isn't it? Yeah. Like,
I mean,
sort of like,
Exeter's main two character traits are being southern and racist, but I
yeah.
still
Well,
take
I
the
mean,
point,
what are they going to do next season when they can't be racist anymore? I mean, they're just
right?
going to be. Are we all going to fall in love with them because they're just actually a really well-run club with a lot of really good?
Yeah.
Like, I found myself, even though I was irritated by their occasional chanting on
Mm.
Saturday. I did when I like, in spite of myself, Munster Exeter. I was just thinking both of these teams are just really good. So like, there's nothing to dislike about them particularly. They don't play a particularly exciting brand of rugby, but they do play good rugby, and
Yeah.
they're both teams absolutely jammed to the gills with like 7 out of 10 players and a couple of like very, very good players, obviously. But like,
Yeah.
they're very hard to dislike when you
Sure.
take away the whole racism thing. So maybe we'll all be really rooting for Exeter next season.
It's
We'll see.
possible. It's possible. I've got a lot of time for Rob Baxter as well,
Same.
even though I can't figure out whether or not he's like an undercover racist. Like there's huge question marks over that. But
He certainly did not want to engage with the topic when it was put to him last year. And I'll never forget that he said that Harry Williams had some interesting ideas about what's really going on that makes me think there's some stuff going on there.
yeah, yeah.
But it's, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I've not seen anything overt, so fair play.
Do you see the other day in the Bucks Super Rugby final, David Jenkins, the 19-year-old Welsh second row, got man of the match, and obviously there was a Wales Online article within
Oh, of course there
seconds
was.
saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, he's got to go on tour to South Africa," and Rob Baxter just said, "Shut up and let him grow here at Exeter."
He's literally playing university rugby.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
they even let fucking, honestly, the whole Cardiff Met thing being producing a couple of England internationals, and not
Yeah.
even, in fact, only one at this point, like, has just spun some people in Welsh rugby off their fucking axis about why, like, like, Christ obviously is a unique fucking physical talent,
Yes.
and everything about him looks like he's a test player, and he absolutely didn't look out of place playing test rugby. But that doesn't mean that everyone playing college rugby is ready for the test arena. Let's let this lad who's just he's probably going on fucking socials on the
Oh, yeah,
Wednesday. He's getting pissed at least once a week. He's from Bridgend, of course he is. And let's just let him and Christ both have their university years, and let them play a bit of professional rugby on top of it for some reason if they really want to.
yeah.
And then when they can make their minds up about what they want to do with it.
He wants to spend his weekends getting pissed, not rooming with Alan Wynne Jones.
No, exactly, and just being really, really intense all the time. Yeah. Maybe we just left them to be sort of like human beings for like, and let me preface this by saying I'm not saying that the culture of university rugby is something to be particularly lauded or enjoyed, and
Yes,
there's issues there, but hopefully Exeter University rugby is not like that, and hopefully University is changing from that culture. So let's let them just grow up and be men and be adults, and let them become like 21 years old, and then we can start hyping them up the fucking arse.
Yeah. I echo and agree with everything you just said as well.
Steve Clark has just said me saying Christ is an obvious physical talent is a hell of a statement when taken out of context. It is. I mean, walking on water, man, for starters.
Yeah. My guy came back to life. Happy Easter.
Yeah, hang around for no more. It is Easter. No, it's not even Easter Monday anymore. It's Easter Tuesday. That's a thing, right? So,
Sure.
by all means, snip that audio and use it as my epitaph to get a lot of hate from the religious right in America. Probably, I don't know. They'll probably also agree that Christ is a physical talent. Anyway, we should probably talk about the weekend now, as we've been at this an hour. Which fucking hell! I mean, God, that is a a damning indictment of me. But that does mean that we say goodbye to our non-paying customers and go behind the paywall now, and we will see you on the other side. Lovely. I've just got to write down a time code because I forgot to do that last time Lee wasn't here, and it was a right pain in the ass. So, okay then. The weekend, a fun weekend of. You know what? Last week I said that these two-legged knockout ties were fucking pointless. And I stand by that. And last weekend was pointless, and this weekend was actually just what a knockout round in the Champions Cup should be like.
Yeah, this is the one that we'll keep.
Yeah, exactly. These are the games that we'll remember. It's like, with the exception of Quins, who are just such a weirdly unserious team, that they are a constant statistical outlier because every game that they're involved with is just a case of whoever scores last wins. Like every other team that won their ties on aggregate also won the game outright on Saturday. So like we all really needed that one game, to lose, just because they kind of overcame their any deficiencies that were there from the first leg. They were still just comfortably the better teams, and they would have always. And like it was, people are saying like, "Oh, it's really entertaining to try and work out all the permutations." And was it really fun to sit there going, "Oh, who's in the lead now?" Because like, I don't know if it was really. It was.
It's one of those things that really works in football where the scoring is like completely binary. Like, you get 1 point if you score a goal. Whereas in rugby, it's so weird because a game can be really open and everything is scored in increments of 5 or 7. Or it can be like, a 6-3 blowout and that's it. Like everything can change from 1 week to the next. It's a really weird system. And don't get me wrong, I'm fine with it. I don't really mind it at all. I just think what we should do instead is just say, like, Toulouse, you have to win by 14 if you want to qualify, because you're the favourites, and that should be it. That should be it.
No, I completely agree. Under no circumstances should Toulouse be allowed to sort of win a game by a point, because it just feels like cheating.
Yeah.
I mean, Toulouse in general feel like cheating. When you have... you shouldn't be allowed to have both Dupont and Tamac in the same team every week. It's like, fair enough, for France. That's it's sort of allowed at test level.
Yeah.
But having both of them in the same team every week feels like cheating, and I don't think it should be allowed. And Ulster fans definitely don't think it should be allowed.
Yeah. But that's the thing, because you look at them in the Six Nations, you go, oh, what a pleasure to watch these two play together. It's amazing. Then you realise you could do it every week. And then you realise you don't want to do it every week because it gets depressing.
It's like, but that's the thing though, when you do end up, watching the top 14 because it's on Premier Sports at 9:00 on a Sunday night or whatever, and Dupont and Tamac are playing for Toulouse, they're not always this good. Like you realise that they do actually raise their game for the big occasions, because sometimes they just, like a team like fucking Montpellier or Bordeaux or whatever, just basically harry them relentlessly for 80 minutes, and they both just trot off after about 65 minutes looking annoyed and depressed.
Yeah.
And then Tomo Ramos goes at 10, and then everything gets silly.
I particularly enjoyed the fact that Roman and Tamac can screw up to the level of retreating and then taking a ball to the back and conceding a penalty, and then immediately just be there like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to set up and score 2 of like the greatest like solo kind of efforts that you'll see all weekend. It's unbelievable.
Is there anything more inevitable than like when one of Dupont or Tamac breaks the line and the other one is on their shoulder? It's like, it doesn't matter what the situation is, where they are on the field. Like when those two are in the open, have broken through your line and they're together and they're within passing distance, it's like, oh well, this is going to be one way or another. This is going to be a try.
Yeah,
like there is no way that this doesn't end in some ludicrous way with a try. And it's remarkable to just see it happen every time.
That Ramos try is borderline genius by Untermac, the way that he gives it to Dupont and goes like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're quicker than me," and then he
Yeah.
runs such a clever line to drag like 2 or 3 Ulster players outwards and
Because
just
they
leave
think he's
Ramos down the middle.
going to get the return ball, and then Dupont's
Yeah,
got the awareness to go, oh, no, there's another
yeah, it's so unbelievably
talented
smart the
fast
line he
man.
runs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just, honestly, eh, like, we should probably check ourselves sometimes and be like, we're very privileged
mm,
to be people who like rugby union in 2022, and we just get to watch this all the
sure.
time. Like, on any given week, you can turn on the TV, and somewhere you might find Antoine Dupont doing something
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
proper tell your fucking grandkids shit,
Mm,
because it's like they are generational fucking talents,
yeah,
and they
it's
play in the same
unbelievable.
team every week, and it's silly, but
It's the
God, it's
fact
fun.
that Dupont winning try, he had absolutely no right to get through, and it
No, not at
genuinely
all.
pisses me off a little bit that he went himself, because like Dupont does sometimes like buy his own hype a little bit, and
Yeah,
like the structure outside him was so good that if he
yeah,
slung that ball, they would have scored like definitely.
yeah,
And instead, he just goes, "Oh yeah, this ball, I'll take it under the post if that's all right. If anyone have any
yeah.
objections, cool."
I thought actually we might like to just make this an easy conversion. So instead of the like fucking perfectly laid out attacking shape that is definitely against 14 going to result in a try, if I just do the simplest thing, instead I'm just going to do the hard thing just because I can. Is that all right? I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make it look unbelievably easy.
Yeah. It's the way he like squeezes through those gaps because he's really strong, isn't he, Dupont?
That's the thing. He's everyone says he's not deceptively strong at all. He looks like he's basically got the build of a sort of Rottweiler,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he is, and he is that.
yeah.
And just tackle him at your fucking peril.
The one that baffled me was the point where he does a little pirouette, and Toulouse have like actually got good structure either side of him, and like he could have done anything, and they managed to win a penalty. And it's like Dupont has done something which looks. If any other scrum half did it, you'd be thinking like, "Oh, what's he doing there? He's about to get hammered backwards." You know, he's faffing around in midfield. Whereas with him and obviously Toulouse having like actual like genuine hit runners and boat runners on both sides of him, like they they had so many options that he managed to go forward and eke out a penalty. And it's like, you're just silly at this point, Antoine. You should be getting battered in that situation.
And that is the thing, though, is that but also like, and it was a case with that winning try, is like Toulouse's structure is so threatening anyway
Mm,
that like it made Ulster go, oh well, fuck it, hell, we need to fan out a bit here, lads, because and that fanning out to go because they realised they were hopelessly exposed out wide.
mm,
Then it's then created that gap through which he could just force himself through, and
yeah,
it's like when you put him as the fucking foot, like any other team, like you put him as the fulcrum of it, and obviously he would still be Antoine Dupont, but he wouldn't be nearly as dangerous. But it's like because they have to focus so much on everything else that's going on, like he gets that extra half an inch of space or that extra
yeah,
sort of second of time to scan and
massively.
choose the right
Yeah.
option, and it's so just I genuinely don't know how. Like I really because what's the draw looking like? They're on the same side of the draw as Leinster, aren't they? And Leicester.
Well, that'd be interesting,
So I
especially if
think
it's Leinster.
yeah. So I think the draw is, and I'll have a look. I think they are on the same side as. It's very hard because the gift that the Champions Cup put out with
Sure,
it was
yeah.
very confusing as all of their stuff is. But yeah, it looked like the winner of Leicester Leinster, which is just again a very fun game.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it feels disingenuous to say that they're going to face Toulouse in the semi-final when Munster at home are no slouches, as they
Yeah.
evidenced on Saturday when it was a thoroughly entertaining game, and also not just a thoroughly entertaining game, but a thoroughly entertaining game that had no players not either getting or not getting punished for heads shithousery, which is so rare in the modern game and was very rare this weekend.
Sure, yeah. No, I unfortunately, and I hate to admit this, missed the Munster game because I was watching the way more important Welsh derby that was on at the same time, which I believe, I was about 1/3 of watchers of that game.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
that was fundamentally a much more silly game
mm,
than Munster Exeter, which is, you choose your poison, and
yeah, yeah,
there was a lot of relentless competence mixed in with, one of the most ridiculous passes you've ever seen. Um, but mainly it was relentless competence. But it was nice to watch a game where nobody goes to the TMO or should go to the TMO because somebody's fucking smashed someone's head in.
that is
And
refreshing,
it's
and
so,
hopefully the
and
direction we're
especially
heading in.
like, because obviously Dean Ryan is very right in what he said after the game about rugby not taking head contact seriously, but he was wrong in saying that, like, it's just against the Dragons. Like, John
Yeah,
Davis should have been red carded for that shoulder to the head on Josh Lewis.
pretty
Um,
brutal.
but to assume that Ben Whitehouse only gave him a yellow because of some sort of anti-drags bias, as opposed to it being what fucking happens all the time now in
Yeah,
every single game, shows that he's not
yeah.
watching a lot of non-Dragons games. I think, like that
I,
fucking Bristol game the night before, man. Aaron Reid got the reddest of reds for that shoulder on Luke Morahan,
mm,
which was bad. But there were about 3 other challenges in that game, 2 for Sale, 1 for Bristol, that should have all been reds,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and none of them did. And like, it's just fucking.
Yeah, it's one of those things that happens in every single game. I do
Well,
wonder if some of the mitigation was that it was Foxy making the tackle and that he's just a nice lad.
he's just a really
Uh,
nice guy, and
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
his fault. It's not his fault. He's that massive. His shoulders are huge. What can he
yeah,
do with them?
yeah, exactly.
But
But
yeah,
I,
5 red cards in 8 games in the Champions Cup this round is a lot.
Jesus, that is a lot. But that's the thing, because hopefully it's one of those things that I think I made this kind of analogy on another podcast before, but like when 5 years ago we were seeing loads and loads of red cards for tip tackles, and now we just don't see tip tackles anymore. And when we do, we see them, maybe gone down to a yellow, like because to reward the good behaviour of the general rugby public. It's not happening yet with head contact. We're not sort of ducking out of that yet. And did you see the Sefa Naivalu incident from the weekend
Oh
where
god, yeah,
he got a horrible red card for the shot
yeah.
on Louis Dupichot, who was
There
scoring a
was only
try?
that was only a second yellow. They didn't. They
Yeah,
decided it wasn't a full red. It's like that's the most reddest. Oh, and
yeah,
I'm genuinely like. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk at the moment about this 20-minute red card thing,
yeah,
and obviously I hate it. But I'm
yeah, yeah.
genuine. This weekend has genuinely started to make me think maybe we just need to give up and accept that this is the only way that this problem is gonna be solved, because like refs demonstrably don't have the courage to make every game 13 on 14 every week.
Mm,
And so players
yeah,
are getting, like, once the one red card happens, like, players basically know then that they can do pretty much anything, and they're probably the worst they'll get out of it is a yellow. And
yeah.
you look at like Super Rugby, like 2 of the 3 New Zealand Conference games this weekend had a red in them, and yet, despite both the players who got red cards being All Blacks, and despite both of them being really bad, particularly the Scott Barrett one, just a real thick, nasty red. Um, there's not been about much uproar about it because, like, they got they got sent off. They weren't allowed to come back, and then 20 minutes later, the game carried on as normal, and it wasn't sort of this huge narrative about how the red card had ruined the game. And, like, I unbelievably disagree with the severity of sanction for dangerous play being reduced like this. But, like,
Yeah,
I genuinely think, like, if this is the way that we get players correctly removed from games when they're being reckless, because, like, these players are still getting banned afterwards.
mm,
Like, it might
yeah.
not be. It's sort of retaining the spectacle so that people. I just can't believe I'm saying this. Like, if what it takes to people to shut the fuck up about this is that we don't,
That's it.
inverted commas, ruin the spectacle by having a
Yeah,
20-minute red card or an orange card or whatever the fuck.
yeah.
Like, but we are still punishing the fucking dickheads that are doing it, and and I would, if we can maybe increase the sanctions for head contact in terms of ban length while removing the initial I feel mad saying about it because I've been fucking banging on about how shit the 20-minute red card idea is, and I still think it is. But I'm starting.
Oh,
I'm
it is
honestly
terrible.
starting.
Yeah.
I'm honestly starting to think now, like we kind of have to take rugby as it is at the moment, and
No,
like protect people, because there are people that are going out every week and are just trying to fucking take people's heads off still.
I also take your point on reducing people talking about referees, because it's so boring. Like when you go to the post-match punditry and they just say, "Is this red card the correct decision?" And they talk about it for 5 minutes, then go, "Yeah, it probably was."
Probably was, yeah.
Or game's gone soft. It's one or
Yeah.
the other. And that's boring. And I get that the easier way to do it is just hire better pundits, but that's
It would
a
be,
conversation for another
but
time.
it's, again, it's like I want to believe that rugby can be its best version of itself, and
Sure.
yet I, I increasingly I increasingly find myself accepting that we might have to just accept that rugby is where it is at the moment,
Yeah.
and to protect players the most while we can. If we
Yeah.
can get, like, because that's the thing, these players can't, they're going off for 20 minutes, they still can't come back on, and they're still going to get banned.
Yeah.
And if it's, as you say, if it stops people talking about fucking referees and red card decisions all the time, and just becomes oh well, he's a fucking moron, wasn't he?
Sure.
Which was kind of refreshingly, when I was watching the Crusaders Blues game on Saturday morning, which was a fucking brilliant game. I think Blues getting their first win in Christchurch for 13 years or however long it is, but like Scott Barrett's red card in that, it was like Justin Marshall within about 10 seconds was like, well, that's definitely a red card. He's an idiot. He shouldn't have. What's he doing? He's an All Black. He should know better than that. And
Sure.
the
Yeah.
whole vibe of the punditry was not, these things ruin the games. Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame he's not a dirty player. It was just, he's thick as fuck. He should know
Yeah.
better. He's not. He's going to go off now, and the Crusaders are going to be down a man for 20 minutes. And it's sort of, and then they just moved on, and no more was said about it.
The most toxic and enabling thing is probably the whole rugby's so obsessed with keeping up the rugby values narrative that they say, like, oh yeah, well he's remorseful, so we're going to reduce his ban, even if literally straight after said remorse they tweet saying bollocks, absolute bollocks, or as soon as they're showing the red card they say, oh, we're playing touch now, are we? Even if they do stuff like that, they claim that it's remorseful because they want to keep up the whole rugby values narrative that players are remorseful when we know they're not, and that's fine. But just ban them for longer. Stop them from smashing into people's heads.
Well, this is the thing. It's like everybody's kicked off about Axel Muller not only getting banned for like 4 weeks or something like that, because it's 5 weeks, for nearly taking fucking Jamie George's head off.
Yeah.
And it was a bad one. It was one of the worst that you will see in current modern rugby.
Yeah.
It was a throwback to the real bad old days shit.
Yeah.
But like, this is, 5 weeks, man. It's not in the same way that a player cannot medically come back from a concussion safely after 7 days.
Yeah.
As rugby union believes it is,
Yeah.
Rugby, it should not be a 5 week, the automatic, if you do something like, if you shoot somebody in the face, right? Like, the judge doesn't go, oh, it's your first offence, so I'll only send you to prison
exactly. Game's gone soft.
If you've killed and eaten someone, and they go, well, you've never killed and eaten someone before, so we'll give you a reduced sentence. No, of course they're not, because the severity of what you do outweighs any sort of like your previous good character, and that's absolutely what it should be with bans in rugby. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you get sent off for a technical offence or something marginal, and you have otherwise like unblemished record, then that should be taken into account. It should not be an automatic 50% reduction, but it should be something.
The Tolu Latu one the other week, where his ban was reduced for a good disciplinary record, even though his disciplinary record is fucking dreadful.
It's not good at all. Yeah,
it's and again, like, it's rugby's obsession with the whole values narrative. It's like there's more important stuff here. Like, there's people getting dementia and brain injuries from this sort of thing. That's way more
Steve
important than our.
Pop him on Twitter for a week and see how you feel about it then. And people do.
And like that's way more important than upholding this whole thing of like, oh no, but our players are so kind to each other, like that you can share on social media afterwards. Like there's so much more to it than that, man.
Yeah, 100%. It's so. This is the thing. I don't object to like if we are going to take this sort of stuff seriously, then World Rugby needs to go. Like, no, we are going to modify these disciplinary procedures so
100%.
that they provide more of a disincentive. What if you're going to try and preserve the spectacle of a game, then you need to then make the other stuff more.
Yeah,
Make it more serious because otherwise you are just fucking like it's there's no disincentive to a player to go out and fucking take someone's head off. Your team goes down for a man for 20 minutes, and then you get to come back in 3 or 4 weeks' time.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, even if you get a 4-week ban, if you go to tackle school, you'll get it reduced to a 3-week ban. There's so many ways that rugby's trying to get players back on the field, and I understand that clubs and fucking unions want their players back on the field because they're being paid, but like. Why are we not also fining? Why are we not also fining players? Like hitting them in their what? Like I know that rugby is not a sport where like fucking massive fines are fucking financially viable, and there's such a huge disparity of fucking paychecks from people earning like 25, 30 grand a year to people earning fucking 10 times that much, and the rest. Like, but it does feel like that percentage. What you should be fucking fined your game check.
yeah.
Percentage
Like,
of your...
the easy solution is just don't smash people in the face.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Make it so that the obvious, easy solution, which is to not smash somebody in the face, becomes the obvious.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's really obvious to everybody sitting at home. It's not that obvious in the heat of battle to coaches and players. So we need to just disincentivize it to such an extent that actually it goes, well, maybe I am going to try and lower my tackle height, or maybe I'm not going to fucking plant that shoulder.
Yeah.
Because maybe missing a tackle is better than me getting sent off and losing fucking 50% of my game check or something
It's like that thing with the Stefan Ivalo incident where people were saying like, oh, what's he supposed to do in that incident? And it's just like, well, tackle him legally and keep him in the corner rather than conceding a red card and a penalty try.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to make... If you're in a position where you can't make a legal dominant tackle,
congratulations,
make a legal passive tackle. Like, yeah.
Oh, what's he supposed to do in that situation? Oh, well, sometimes if you can't legally tackle, it's like if we use that fucking weirdly kind of backwards way of thinking, it's like, well, at any point in the rugby field, the answer is to stab someone in the face because that will definitely stop them scoring a try or getting over the gain line.
Wales would have beaten Italy if Wayne Pivac had got a sniper out and shot down Eduardo Padovani when Cabuso made that break.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he do that?
If they'd had one of those things like in fucking Return of the Jedi with the speeder bikes where he pops up a little fucking string across the field and just fucking garrots him.
Yeah.
Then
if you had the ATAT playing fullback, then it would have been fine.
Yeah. If so... But this is the sort of weird, like, reductive nonsense that you end up getting into when you try to excuse this stuff. Can we just not?
Yeah.
I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of positive things,
yes.
the wheels feel like they've properly come off Pat Lamb's Bristol project now, don't they?
Yeah, it's weird because like no matter how derailed Bristol get, I still love them and I still love Pat Lam.
Me too.
And I feel a compulsion to stick up for him all the time. But like the wheels do very regularly come off.
And they feel like they have fully, become detached from the axles now. And like aside from Saracen's points deduction season, right, which obviously was not real. The last time a team finished top of the table one season and then finished 10th or lower the next was Sale in 2007. And at least Sale had the decency to win the league in 2006. But it took Sale 15 years to get back into the playoffs after that. And what I'm saying is it's fucking rare for a team to go from being as good as they were last year to being as bad as they are this year.
Yeah.
So quickly. Even Gloucester didn't fall this far this quickly. And that is saying a lot. And I think there's not even any reason for it. There's no player exodus. There's no bankruptcy. There's no coaches changing. There's no real excuse for this.
I was going to say, at least they're not spending much money on players.
Well,
at least they're doing well on that department and the whole salary cap thing.
Pat Lam increasingly feels like his entire coaching manual has been thrown in the bin and has just been replaced with him scrawling, "This might just be crazy enough to work," on a whiteboard. But like, what do you say about putting the best part of like probably 2.5 million quid's worth of talent on your bench 2 weeks in a row in the Heineken Cup knockout stages?
Yeah.
And starting Rich Lane, who's never started a European game before in his life, at fullback instead of Charles Piatel, or Sam Bedlow instead of Semi Radradra, or Sam Jeffries, a man who was literally retired for 2 years until the start of this season, is somehow a better option than Stephen Luatua. It's just mad. And then you bring them on when you've lost the game.
Rich Lane is my favourite donut parlour in the East Midlands.
I mean, look, if only he'd stuck to that. To be fair, he looks like a very promising young player, but he's not fucking Charles Piatel.
No. He's a very promising older player.
Yeah, maybe if all three of those would have been on the field from the start, they wouldn't have had to come on at whatever it was, 24-7 or 24-3 down.
Yeah.
And then the game was basically like the damage was done and they were chasing the game. They never should have been behind him. And like, I don't know, maybe like the 6-year contract that Pat Lam's got and this impending salary cap schmozzle that they've got has made him just go, well, fuck this season. I can't be bothered. Let's see what we've got to work with next year and see where we need to strengthen.
That's it, though. That's always what he says in interviews when they're saying, like, oh, yeah, what went wrong, Pat? This is really bad. He goes, well, we've got like a 78-year plan here, and we're only in year 3 of this plan. So we are going to get there. When Luke Morahan's grandkids are starting in the centres for us, we're going to be fine.
But that's the thing. Like, he's got the Premiership to do all this stuff. Like, the Premiership season is over for them. They're not qualifying for Europe next year. It's fucking done, man. They're 10th.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to see how young players go, fucking just play them. But play your fucking ones in the Champions Cup knockout
stage. Play them at Sale on a Friday night. See how that goes.
He takes that game 10% more seriously in Bristol in the quarterfinals against a Racing team that barely managed to beat the Ospreys at home. And once you're in the semi-finals, who the fuck knows what happens? Frankly,
even if you finish 10th, even if you finish 10th, if you get to European semi-finals, you've got some credibility out of your season, haven't you?
100%. Like, if Bristol had made it through to the quarters of the semi-finals, and then they'd have had one of La Rochelle or Montpellier in the semi, and it's like, La Rochelle are very good, but they're just as mad as Bristol. And we know Montpellier are mad. Bristol thrive in have previously thrived in games where madness is the key. Up until that fucking Quinn semi-final where they got out-madded. But even still, if they made it to a quarter semi-final, if they made it to a European semi-final, Pat Lam can turn around at the end of the season and go, "We made it to the European fucking semi-finals."
That was our target all along. This is all within our plan. Do you want a really good, well thought out, Bristol-based joke?
Yes, hit me.
Their outside centre, Semi Radradra, more like round of 16 Radradra. Get it? Because they didn't make the semis; they only made it to the round of 16. I mean, all of these people have paid for this. We're in the weekend section.
I know. Yes, you just paid for this. I'm not talking to Will here. I'm talking to all you've listened to. You just paid for that, and I want you to think about how that makes you feel.
Yeah,
and
please
sorry.
Don't.
Please don't.
I've just had a notification that Squidge Rugby has just lost 70 patrons in the last 31 seconds.
I mean, look, this is the risk that Robbie took by letting you out on your own, unchaperoned. Anything could have happened, and it has. But when you speaking of Semi, right, and Piatel and fucking Luke Morahan and Luatua. Those guys aren't getting any younger. Do you honestly think that they are happy about the fact that Lam has basically just gone, well, this is probably one of your final sort of years of being in your prime. I'm just going to fuck it. Yeah. I'm just going to throw it in the bin. Is that all right?
Morahan's off, isn't he? I think.
Well, that is the rumor that they can't afford. He's going to have to be one of the high-profile cap casualties. In which case, Luke, you can commute to your Bristol coffee shop from Swansea if that. I'm just putting it out there.
Look, Luke Morahan and Matt Prothero in the same back three together.
It's happened. It's happened before. Let's let it happen again.
Oh wait, yeah, of course. He used to play for Bristol, didn't he?
Yeah. Let's have Matt Prothero, George North, and Luke Morahan in the same back line.
I'm game.
Who is
it would mean breaking Dan Evans' 12-year streak of playing every single minute for the Ospreys and more.
There's a real vibe that Toby Booth is trying to break that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I'd be surprised if Dan Evans is still there next season because it seems like Toby Booth really hates him. And that is probably because he's trying to become the world's first fat fullback.
Yes.
I'm sorry, man.
Hey, he takes inspiration from Scott Spedding.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Scott Spedding is your rugby style icon. It says a lot.
Scott Spedding had girth. And
that's true.
He was built like a fridge, and Dan Evans is not. God love him.
No,
and he wasn't always built like that.
No.
Holly Worthy says, move North into the centre and get Cuthbert on the wing. Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Now we're talking, yeah.
Giles on the bench. I want Kieran Williams and fucking George North in the centres. And I want Alex Cuthbert, Luke Morahan, and Matt Prothero as my back three. Thank you very much.
With Hannah Dirksen at 10.
Obviously, goes without saying.
Yeah. And Stephen Myler to come on in the closing stages and close it out.
Stephen Myler's play 12, obviously.
Yeah. There we go.
That's
an infallible backline.
Yeah. But what haven't we talking about in this weird weekend? I suppose
the games I watched.
Oh yeah,
there was Quins. I mean, the main thing to talk about is that Joe Marchant try.
Just delightful.
Just done the right. It was brilliant, and like
real. Yes.
It's one of those great things. Like it's where I start to enjoy the Marcus Smith hype because like as long as he's doing that and throwing insane dummy switches instead of like managing test matches, he is delightful to watch. And like him and Kerr together at club level is phenomenal. Like.
And this is
Hayden Murray, brilliant.
When he's doing that, it's like, yeah, I will absolutely get myself on the Marcus Smith hype train. The problem is that he's still equally as hyped when he's just kicking his goals and shoveling on bad ball.
Yeah.
It's just wild, man.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real. I've seen so much like analysis of Marcus of that missed kick at the end. Like I've seen some mad shit from fucking Shane Horgan about how his technique meant that he was throughout the game meant he was always going to miss, and it's like he's a human being. Like
and
despite
also Shane Horgan who never kicked a goal in his life.
Exactly what Shane Horgan no, but like the second most talented person in his family. Despite what every journalist in England has led you to believe over the last 18 months, he's a 23-year-old human man who's perfectly capable of just having a fucking brain fart. And that's what he did.
It. Like, and even like during it works both ways, because during the Six Nations, when he had a fairly average game against Scotland, everyone thought, oh, he's amazing. And then that meant that everything is built up so high that when something doesn't go for him, the script writers let him down. That everyone's then like, oh, what a terrible shocker by Marcus Smith that is. And it's like, well, no, if we just were measured in the way we spoke about him in the first place, then it would be fine because like we know that he's brilliantly talented. When it comes to all the broken field stuff, there are a few fly halves in the world you want more than him. And it's fine that he's a 23-year-old. Yeah, he's a 23-year-old lad who, and guess what? Like, it's much easier to teach somebody who is that talented how to manage test matches than it is to teach somebody like Owen Farrell, who is an unbelievable game manager, to, do insane goose steps on
to do
fast
goose
players.
Steps and mad dummies that cause the camera to go the wrong way.
Because
you've sold it so well.
And like it's fine that Marcus Smith's not the finished product yet, but you can do shit like that, which so few players can. And it was phenomenal to watch.
And also he's like a 78-80% goal kicker, something like that. That does mean that he misses like 2 in every 10 kicks.
And that's fine at his age.
Yeah, that's fine. 80% goal kicker at this level is fine. It's not like it's not exceptional, but it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Like
just
nobody's going to
chill.
call for him to be dropped on that goal kicking percentage, are
No,
they?
surely not. And it's been interesting because me and Lee were talking months ago about kind of like what's going to happen when there is going to become a sort of there's going to become the Marcus Smith pushback. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the backlash is going to happen,
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting to see if this is it, because I mean, obviously, it's probably the worst moment in his career to date in terms of
Yeah.
but like fucking hell, missing a fairly easy goal kick to win your team a game to get through to the Champions Cup quarterfinals. It's not like it doesn't add up to a whole bunch of fucking
No,
beans.
yeah.
They still won the Premiership last year. They still might win the Premiership this year. Chill out.
And he still generally had a good game.
Yeah,
So...
you just think he was playing fucking sexy chocolate rugby for most of that game.
Yeah.
But then just fucked up the fundamental easy thing that you expect to fly off to do at the end, and that's part of it.
To make the comparison again, like he played better in that game than all the games in the Six Nations where everyone was saying he's the best player in the world.
100%.
Giving
Yeah.
and stuff. He was so much better in that game than he was in any of those, for completely understandable reasons. Especially at his age. It's and like I've got a lot of respect for Marcus Smith, as much as I sledge the hype train of him because it is insufferable at the worst of times. Like he is a clearly very grounded young kid because he's not bitten on any of it yet. And he's clearly, really determined to keep learning and keep improving as a player, as he did throughout the Six Nations. And Eddie Jones is very smart to blood him, knowing that if he waited until the day before the World Cup to call up George Ford, he would play equally as well as he would if he played him every single minute, as he has been doing for the last 6 years.
And he knows that he can do that because he's dropped George Ford for large periods of time in the past, and then has just gone, oh no, actually, I like you again, and then he just come back and been.
And like Marcus Smith
Fordy.
is young and exciting and needs blooding, and he's very, very smart to do it in the way he is. And I imagine by the World Cup, he will have 3 genuinely brilliant options at fly half.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Nobody genuinely thinks that. Well, maybe people do, but I don't genuinely think that Marcus Smith is going to go into the World Cup as England's number 1 fly off, because I just don't. I don't think Eddie Jones will.
I think he'll be like the finisher role, won't he?
He can come on and he can potentially come on and break. He's been understood enough of the system and the sort of all of that stuff that he can then come on and break a game in the last 20 minutes, and he can, definitely. And he can break a fucking game wide open.
Yeah,
if he gives the opportunity, and he just, it was one of those weird statistical out. This is what Quins live by the sword and they die by the sword. They in any European tie, if you switch off for roughly a quarter of it or even a third of it broadly over the 2 matches, in any game, if you switch off for a third of it, you're probably going to end up paying the price for it. That's what they did in the first half and for bits of the second half on Saturday. They switched off and they let Montpellier, who are not sexy rugby guys, just be sexy rugby guys. I think it's one of those, it's like when an international team plays Fiji. It's like when somebody plays Quins, everybody just gets a little bit excited and and they get on their uppers and they're like, "Ooh, we're going to throw it around a bit." And I think that's something that Quins can probably, they're broadly very good at dealing with it, but like they are going to have to understand that like the way that they play encourages teams that don't normally play that way to play that way, and sometimes that's going to bite you in the arse, and it did.
Yeah. The other important thing from that game, I think, was Jamie Heaslip learning about 70 minutes in that there are players who aren't Alex Dombrandt in the team, which is pretty good. The point where he realizes that there are other positions other than number 8 is always quite fun.
It is great. I mean, it's not like he had a lot of experience of anything other than playing number 8. So,
exactly. He was great at playing number 8. And you know what? If you put him in any other role, he wouldn't have done as well. So, fair enough. It's like he's on as a number 8 correspondent. I will talk about 1/15 of the players on the pitch, and that is it.
Nothing else. Because that is all I know about and all I can be trusted to talk about.
I'm down with a bit of honesty in rugby punditry. Yeah.
Absolutely. Other than that, Leinster did what everybody expected them to do.
Yeah, who cares?
Leicester did what everybody expected them to do. La Rochelle did what everybody expected them to do. and Racing did what everyone expected them to do. It's just there were quite a lot of red cards involved across those several games, and quite a lot of shithousery. But yeah, it was kind of a lot of those games were basically decided last week, and I don't think we should, respect the two-legged format by spending too much time talking about them. Frankly,
agreed.
Anything else from you from the weekend then?
Not much. Just Saracens being depressingly quite good against Cardiff.
Although the Blues gave them much more of a game than I think anybody expected them to, which is quite fun,
including them while they were on the field.
It was like when they played Quins, where it was just like with all that, and it was like, hang on, lads, we're actually sort of in this.
Yeah. But yeah, like generally not much to even say about that game, other than just like that Max Malin's try was very good, and he was very nice. Good.
Yes, he remains very good.
Yeah,
week in, week out. And
even though I still don't get why he's a winger, it seems to be working.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like before he went to Bristol, he was like a 10 and a fullback.
Yeah, he was,
And then he came back from Bristol, apparently he's just a winger now. And it's like,
very
can you not have a go at 10 or fullback again, please?
Yeah,
It might be interesting.
I enjoyed him as a 10.
Me too.
But
I enjoyed him as a fullback as well. And I feel like
I think he's still his best position.
I think he's probably long term going to just slot into the Alex. Alex Good. Is Alex Good done at the end of the season? It feels like he should be done sometime soon.
Yeah.
He's no Ricky January, is he?
No, exactly. He's had his stint in Japan, so he has to have a stint in America now.
But like it's just like he's got to knock it on. He's 33 now. He's going to have to knock it on the head in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
After that, surely just Max Malins just sits in that Saracens 15 shirt for the next 10 years.
Got to, yeah.
And basically does exactly the same thing that Alex Good does, but with a bit more pace.
Yeah. That would be nice. But yeah, I'm here for Max Malins is all I really have to say.
Well, I feel like the biggest part of where Bristol's wheels have come off this season is that they have and we've said it before, they haven't adequately replaced either Max Malins or Ben Earl, who were both really important to Bristol last season, and neither of them were particularly that involved in the England setup either. So they were kind of there every week, and they're just such a huge loss without them.
Yeah. Side note, have you ever noticed that Ben Earl has a passing resemblance to Mike Skinner?
He does, I've never thought that before, but he absolutely does.
Yeah. Just you probably won't get that out of your head now, but
no.
Yeah. I noticed it once and have never stopped thinking about it. I'm thinking about it all the time.
I mean, I'm never going to stop thinking about it now. Thank you. Good. Okay, then. Well, with that, then, we will knock the weekend stuff on the head, and we shall welcome back the non-paying people. Hello to you all. Women's Six Nations is back this week, Will, which is great. Mercifully back in a lot of ways, because women's rugby is a hell of a lot easier to enjoy than the men's rugby at the moment. So it's only fitting that we once again join our friends at Fanzo, previously Matchpoint, and the Guinness Point Predictor to do some predictions for the weekend's fixtures. If you want any further evidence that women's rugby is much better than men's, me and Lee are actually second and third out of 40-odd players in our Blood and Mud Predictor League. There's just pesky Dominic Collingwood, who's 4 points ahead of us. It's very tight. But yeah, I don't know how that's happened, but somehow we've managed to. I don't know. I'm going to call it beginner's luck, but I'm going to enjoy it. Second and third. Who'd have thought it? So this weekend we've got Wales versus France on the Friday night. What is it about Wales and France on Friday nights?
Is it the only two
law?
Teams to it, I
is
think.
It the law?
Yeah,
but even the men's game, the women's game, it's like, honestly. But yes, so what's your feelings on this? Because obviously Wales, they came back down to earth against England. And, we've talked about it a lot in this game, in this podcast. It's like, it's not going. Professionalism doesn't happen overnight. And Wales have not flicked a button and become professionals. And I feel like a game against France is probably going to be another reminder that they have a long way to go before they are competing with England and France.
Yeah, I think that's the most kind of sensible take on how the game's going to go. There's a part of me that's thinking like we're not going to win the game. But there's a part of me thinking we can give them a go. Like the way that I've always thought about it. Well, I say always for the last sort of 6 weeks, is that if Wales give them a good half, as Scotland did 2 weeks ago. Granted, that was in the second half, not the first. But if Wales can give them a good half, I think that's a result because before the Six Nations, he'd said to me, "You get 3 wins and a good half against France." You know, when you're just starting to pay players, you're just starting to actually get a decent system in place. You know, sort of new coaching team. I'd have bitten your hand off. Like I think that's a really good result. Like. So I hope Wales really target this because I would have said really target Italy and look for bonus points on, but like frankly, Italy have looked quite poor in the last few weeks, so I think Wales probably coast to a win against Italy at this stage. I mean,
you'd hope so. I mean, fucking hell, we said that about the men a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah, it's true.
Who knows? But like, I agree. Italy look like and it's no coincidence that Italy have decided to bring in a semi-professional program in the last couple of weeks because clearly things have not gone well for them this year, and the Italian Federation has been forced into acting. But I think when you look at like Wales gave England a game for 20 minutes, and I think they can do it for 30, if not 40, against France.
Yeah,
if
I
they
think that's
bring
going to be
that
the target.
if they can bring that similar level of intensity that they brought against England, they can give France a proper game for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
and then I'm sure things will go out of hand and they'll probably lose by about 20 points.
Sure, but I imagine that we'll pick a slightly more experienced squad than we did against England. You know, there was quite a bit of sort of rotation with like Sissoko Tuipulotu's first start. Like, I mean,
they just picked everyone who was massive in that game.
Yeah.
And I feel like I wonder if that might be, and also they've had a fallow week, they've had a bye week to kind of work on stuff because the attacking game is obviously still not quite there.
No,
they're more working
really.
on. No, and so maybe that will have improved over the last couple of weeks, but then France will probably also have improved, and they do have unbelievably devastating halfbacks, as is tradition. So, I'm going to say France by 20-ish.
Yeah, I'll say France by 16. And that's probably optimistic, but I'm going to say that it's going to be the second half where they pull away.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Italy versus Scotland then is the next game. We talked a bit about Italy. Scotland, again, in that second half against France, did a very good job of kind of holding onto the ball and looking absolutely full on, very competent and capable of shutting down elite teams. So, I mean, as you said, Italy don't seem to be in a brilliant place right now, but Italy are at home. So I still think Scotland by 25, though, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Scotland are just so desperate to just get the monkey off the back as well. Like, to use a cliche, like, I feel like every time
to win a
you
game,
see,
man. Yeah.
Every time you see Rachel Malcolm's post-match interviews, she speaks brilliantly, but you can tell she's a bit sick of it, know? Like,
it's just like, can we just win a game, please?
Yeah, because they've been playing really good rugby as well. Like against Wales, they were brilliant. In the second half against France, they were fantastic. Like,
and in the second half against England, they put some really good stuff together, man.
Yeah. Like massive improvement on previous years against England in particular. Like, so they definitely deserve to finally have a game where they score more points than the opposition. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think Scotland by 25. I think I'm just mimicking you here. You're a trendsetter, Josh.
I mean, I'm second in the production pool, so clearly I know what I'm talking about. England versus Ireland then. I think this is probably going to be England by about 50 again.
It's going to be very one-sided.
It's a safe bet at the moment to bet that England will beat anybody by about 50 points.
Yeah, and especially seeing that Ireland have had, I think, so Stacey Flood, Emily Murphy-Crowe, Bevan Parsons.
Yeah, half the team's buggered off to the sevens, haven't they?
Yeah, Lucy Mulhall, Eve Higgins, I think, are both unavailable as well.
Oh, shit, maybe England by 60 then.
A huge unavailable list, like, and it's all basically their entire backline other than like Cronin is basically unavailable, which is a horrific sight. Like, and don't get me wrong, it would be a good opportunity. I know they're not in the World Cup this year, but maybe for the next World Cup, it'd be a good opportunity to actually blood some young players.
Yeah.
And they've called up quite a lot of, from what I can tell, inexperienced players, as well as Seni Nawupu, who's been out of the squad for a bit, who is very experienced. So hopefully they can put together, again, like a decent 20 minutes as Wales did. But it's going to be a baptism of fire, let's say, for a lot of players. So I'm going to say, yeah, England by 60, 65.
It could get quite. Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about the fact that they'd lost all those players. God, yeah, that could
And
get
like
quite
Murphy
ugly.
Crowe's been their form player or Six Nations, I would
Yeah.
say. Like, she's on unbelievable form and unfortunately can't play.
Yeah. Oof. Okay. Yeah. I'm still going to say England by 50 and hope that Ireland just do a decent job of kind of with what they have, because they still got a good back forwards there, and it might not be enough to trouble England, but it's certainly enough to make them think.
It might be one of those games where they go into it wanting to keep the scoreboard down, which honestly I wouldn't blame them for at this stage.
100%. Yeah.
So hopefully they do keep that scoreboard down as much as possible.
Well, this is the thing, and you know, as ultimately Ireland have got a one win under their belts. There's still an opportunity. Points difference. Obviously isn't going to make any difference in the fucking championship, probably, but like points difference will probably factor into the places, and because Wales are going to win 2 games, Ireland could win 2 games, Wales could win 3 games potentially, like, but certainly between them and Scotland, like, who knows? Like, particularly with that game, if they can not get hammered as badly as Scotland did, then all of a sudden everything opens up for them in terms of kind of placings for the Six Nations. Am I talking bollocks here? I can't remember. Maybe I am.
No, I don't think so. No.
But then ultimately, as you say, from a morality point of view, not getting absolutely, as Harley Worthy says, how high do the points go on Fanzo? I'll have a look. Let's have a look, see how high it goes. I don't think that will be the case for Ireland, because I think they're fundamentally good.
Yeah, they are.
But,
they've got enough.
Okay, wow. Yeah, you can say up to 150.
Okay.
I think we're not there.
No.
We're nowhere near there. I think it's I think it will be England by. You hate to say it, but England by maybe 55, maybe 60 points, actually.
Yeah. Hopefully less than that.
Hopefully less than that, but I just feel like... And also England seems to be getting better with every game.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about them.
It's terrifying.
They are arguably the best sports team on the planet at the minute.
Oh, they are, 100%.
And they still improve it with every single game. Yeah. And also they're really nice as well. That's what I really hate about them.
Really,
like, normally the best men's rugby team in the world are all full of dicks.
Yeah.
Whereas they're really nice. Simon Middleton seems lovely. Like, they've also brought Natasha Hunt back into the fold, who is probably my favourite scrum half in the world. Like, there's nothing to dislike about them, and it's really annoying. They are the model sports team for anybody in the world.
And yet, there is a genuinely like, you can see it from game to game. They are better than they were against Scotland.
Yeah.
In the second game, every game they've improved, and every game you've looked at them and gone. Pfft. And France must just be like, oh, fuck's sake, can we not play them first?
Yeah,
because they will be fully tuned up by the time that fucking final game comes around.
Yeah. And like, it takes a lot for me to enjoy an England team like this, having grown up a Welsh fan in England my whole life. As you all know, living in England yourself, Josh, like, it's one of those really depressing things where, but like, they are so wholesome and just so generally good that you can't help but enjoy, like, feel like they deserve their success that much that you somewhat enjoy it.
Yeah. And it makes you feel a bit dirty. To be honest with you, it was actually quite reassuring. And it felt quite nice that there was a bit of niggle and a bit of kind of feistiness between Wales and England in the sort of second half, because that felt like reassuring. It's like, oh, you are capable of being the baddies a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Look,
it's if it's reassuring to sort of look at England and go, "Oh, you being pricks," because they were like,
yeah,
5% of what the pricks the men are every single
yeah.
time they step on the field.
I would pay insane amount of money to see a show on Leather Crap versus Marley Packer battle.
Honestly, pay-per-view that shit. It could bankroll women rugby for like a year. So yes, there we go. There is our predictions for the Women's Six Nations this year. Should we do some shit good now?
Yeah, might as well.
I think we probably should start a shit because we might as well. Matthew Morgans get in touch via the Facebook group and says, "Shit, the Jack Noel stag do circle jerk. It's just a bloke on a stag, literally like every single stag do I've ever seen or been on. The only exceptional part is how utterly unimaginative it is." We haven't talked about this, but
No.
how it's not just me, right? This is fucking weird. Like a man on his stag do goes with a bunch of people that he works with to watch the team that he works for play in a game that he would be playing. Like the definition of a busman's holiday. It's like he's going to watch the team that he is employed by play rugby, which he'd have to do anyway if he was like, because he'd be like traveling injured with the squad anyway and probably watching in the stands.
Yeah.
So like, it's
He's
literally
basically work on his stag do.
100%, and he's gone to
work.
gone to work with all of his other colleagues who aren't in work at the moment, and they've all gone to work together.
He's going to the office and getting drunk and watching his mates, his workmates work.
Yeah, with his other and the people that he's on his stag do with are the people that he works with who are also not in today.
Yeah. It's everyone who's called in sick has gone to watch the rest of the office working whilst wearing their opposing rival company's attire.
Yeah, I'm getting pissed. But it's just such a like. It's so weird seeing Jack Noel have the same stag do that I had. Yeah, my stag do was I went to watch rugby because that's what I like to do. But I'm not paid professional. It's like I didn't like, for my stag do I didn't want to go and interview Slash. It's like like
I reckon that's
just
what
cannot imagine.
That's what Jack Noel should have done. Is
Jack Noel should have interviewed Slash, and I should have gone to watch Munster. That would have been a much more fun option. But
and weirdly, like Jack Noel's
so weird. Just so weird.
Jack Noel's one of the 1% of human beings whose hair is too bad to ever qualify for Guns N' Roses.
No, exactly, yeah. But like people in Guns N' Roses, he's much better off when he wears a hat because when he takes it off, he looks wrong.
Yeah,
he likes Slash in that regard.
Very true.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that all of those captions about the Jack Noel stag do, they always specified the fact he was drinking a beer, like he'd do anything else on his stag do.
Yeah. What do you? Yeah. It's like, did you expect him to have a protein shake?
Yeah,
He is on
a dab of Ribena.
Yeah. And it was like, oh, rugby, isn't rugby great? It's like, no, I'm pretty sure that when footballers go on their stag do's, they get fucking mashed as well.
Yeah,
like, just they don't weirdly go to work to do it.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it's sort of been uncritically kind of waved through as a great example of #rugby values, and I genuinely think it's one of the weirdest fucking things.
It's so weird. I have no idea how I feel about the whole situation, but it doesn't matter, does it? It just doesn't matter how any of us feel about this.
No,
it's a man drinking a beer.
It's his stag do. He's absolutely welcome to do that. I just find it powerfully odd.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think it's like it's added another layer to the sort of strange mystery that is like Jack Noel, professional rugby player. And I just don't get it. Yeah. Like he likes Lego, doesn't he? Could he not have just stayed at home and drunk beer and done Lego? Wouldn't that have been fun with Dave Ewers?
That was his second choice after interviewing Slash.
Building
Lego with Dave Ewers. Is this something that Alan Partridge suggests?
I was going to say that's a new BBC4 program, isn't it? Yeah. Lego with Dave Ewers.
I would watch it.
I'd watch it. Fucking
Dave
right,
Hughes,
you'd
another one.
watch it.
He could play for Zimbabwe.
Yeah, you could. Ah, you should do that. He absolutely
Yeah.
should do that. Come on. Isn't he retiring at the end of the season?
Probably, but he's a coward. If so, he can
Exactly.
go somewhere
Play
else
for
and play in
Zimbabwe, you
Zimbabwe.
coward.
Yeah. This is the Blood and Mud podcast sending for Dave Ewers.
Any shits from you, Will?
Not really. I just had the Sefa Naivalu thing covered, but we've talked about that on the weekend.
It was real fucking bad.
Yeah. That's it for shit for me.
Dan Shears gets in touch with the Facebook page as well and says, shit, this team's not taking the 3 points and then losing by a fine margin. Exeter and especially Harlequins could have gone through with better decision-making and execution. Very true. It is very tempting in these two-leg knockout ties to get carried away with scoring tries and building up big scores when sometimes you would have just been better off just fucking taking the points.
Yeah, I think that's a kind of a standing item, but entirely fair.
Yeah. It's like take the points as a mantra isn't always the case, but I think if you're gonna have one of these stupid two-legged knockout ties, take the points is probably very much in the just take the fucking points, lads, especially when every point matters.
Yeah. This is the captaincy guide from us
It
two.
is take the fucking points. Gordon White gets in touch and says, shit, it's the year 2022 and kit clashes still exist in rugby. Honestly, Leinster fucking Connacht, for it to happen last week, that kit clash was unbelievably bad. And then for them to just go, same kits again next week, lads? Yeah, brilliant.
And these two teams are used to playing each other.
Yeah.
In different colours. Could they not have figured this out?
But they both wanted to wear their European kit, Will. And what should have happened is that one team should have worn their away kit last week and the other one could wear their European kit at home. And then the other team could wear their European kit at home this week. And then the other team wears their fucking... honestly. I think it might be all Connacht's fault because I'm not sure if Connacht have got a light coloured away kit this year. And if that is the case, then they're top of my shit list because that is my big fucking
should have all worn bibs.
Everyone's the thing. Just go fucking shirts and skins if you're going to be that stupid, lads.
Turn shirts inside out.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm just looking on Connacht's website to check. Yeah. See, Connacht have absolutely fucked it by having a green home shirt, a black away shirt, and then a greeny black European shirt.
Right.
There's almost no way that they could provide contrast aside from wearing their green kit, which they could have just easily done. There was no way to provide any contrast with Leinster.
Makes you wonder how much money they will have gained from people ordering those European shirts, from them wearing it in those two games, or how many people accidentally ordered a Leinster shirt instead.
Well, this is the thing. You can't tell. It could have been pouring yet more money into the Dublin coffers. But yes, I completely agree with that, Gordon. Absolute nonsense. Dave Rogers says shit is Montpellier's shithousery when they were getting pumped at the scrum 5 meters from their own line. But then he also says good is Montpellier's shithousing when they were getting pumped at the scrum time 5 meters from their own line. Absolutely correct. Like, who didn't secretly enjoy them blatantly just being fucking cheating shits in every... And it paid off. It fucking paid off.
It's all you can do.
It worked. And I cannot help but respect blatant cheating that works.
Yeah. I think that is the definition of both shit and good.
Indeed.
Mainly good, but yeah.
I say mainly good. And finally, then, Ben Smith gets in touch via Twitter to say that shit is Breeze fullback getting a discounted ban for admitting something to a panel that found to be deliberate and dangerous. Yeah, that's the other thing. He said it was. He did it. He said he did it, and then they still released it, and it was deliberate and it was dangerous. He said I was basically being a shithouse, and they still knocked 5 weeks of ban. It's ridiculous. Absolutely absurd.
Again, we've covered the whole thing about them wanting to uphold rugby values as a narrative, but that's just next level.
Yeah, it's like I killed him and I ate him, and I meant to. And...
So, okay, thank you for your honesty. You only get 2 years in jail.
Yeah. Should we move on to good then? If you got any good?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I've got plenty of good.
Oh,
One
hit me.
was the Johnny Williams try with it set up
Oh, that
by
was so
Liam
silly.
Williams through the legs pass from the touchline, which was a lot of fun because both teams just panicked. Apart
Yeah.
from Johnny Williams, was the one person on the field who was ready to take that
Yeah,
ball.
it was just like I was just as if Liam Williams just threw that in with ultimate speculation, and
Yes.
where it bounced, it absolutely should have been picked up by a Dragons player, but they were so
Yeah.
confused by what happened, they just sort of stopped, and then just was like, well, if nobody else is going to pick this ball up, I will pick this
The
ball
ball
up.
happened upon Johnny Williams,
Yeah,
which is how any
how
try
all of
should
his
be
tries,
scored.
yeah,
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, this is tries. All of his tries scored for Wales have been exactly
yeah.
that, isn't it?
Basically, he was just happened to be there, and the ball arrived.
Like the ball, the try line, and Johnny Williams all decided to meet at a certain time, and that is what happened.
Indeed.
So I mean, there's a couple of Thomas Ramos's method of booting the ball out was a lot of fun
Loved
at
it.
full
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
where he in the opposition 22 just skies it, and it was properly like you
God,
want
is
to
this
piss off
gonna
the
stay
PE
in?
teacher. You want to piss off the PE teacher by booting the ball as far into the car park as possible. Like it's effectively what Thomas Ramos did to end a game of European rugby, and I loved it.
It genuinely, it's like it was like it had that sort of like ooh, because it was like he booted it so high in the air. You were like, this is Ulster. Like it could easily be like the wind could take this back into the field of play.
Sure,
Don't
yeah,
do this.
yeah.
Don't do this. Just kick it out low and fast and hard. But of course, Tom Ramos doesn't know how to do anything that isn't slightly mad.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
fair play to him.
Yeah, my last good is Nigel Walker shit talking Jiffy, which I absolutely loved.
Absolutely, I wish he'd called him out by name.
Yeah,
in that
we
interview.
all knew.
Yeah, we knew who he was talking about.
Did those two play together?
I guess they probably would have overlapped, but maybe where Nigel's caps might have been when he was off at league. But either way, just fucking real good. Like every time Nigel Walker opens his mouth, I am increasingly impressed.
Straight into good.
And he was, he's clearly having to play politics with the state of the game in Wales in terms of but what he wants to do is like the things that Steve Phillips is saying are not the things now, are not the things that Steve Phillips was saying like 12 months ago. Because clearly Nigel's had a word and gone, look, stop talking shit, and we need to start talking about doing things together and not being constantly at war. But
the amount of shit that Jiffy thinks he's entitled to talk about because he used to be able to sidestep in the 80s, and he had a great sidestep on him. Don't get me wrong.
Quick. Yeah,
he had a great sidestep. Very, very quick guy. But my God, he knows everything because of that. So Nigel Walker saying, sorry I talk so passionately about this, but to come to conclusions when you haven't asked the right questions, to spout off on certain programs and all the rest of it.
Certain programs? Nice. There's only one program, mate. You might as well have just called him out like this was WWE.
Say, this is happening or this isn't happening. When you haven't asked the right question, it's just lazy. Come and ask me and I'll tell you what's happening. And if you want to disagree with that, then that's cool. But I know quite a bit about performance. I'm not some guru, but I know quite a bit. If people want to ask me what we're doing, then I'll tell them what we're doing. They want to say that's rubbish, then I'll ask why. Sorry I feel so passionate about it, but I've read so much and it couldn't be further from the truth. It really does bug me when people should know better. He has rinsed Jiffy there. Like he's just dropped, but effectively just dropped the diss track on him. And there's no coming back from that.
I genuinely want more. I want more shit talking like this in rugby. Harley Worthy says that Dan Bigger's recent comments about how much better he'd be if Sam Vesti was his coach when he was 18, completely, and not mentioning the fucking elephant in the room that his coach when he was 18 is Sean Holly, who never stops telling us about how he coached a young man called Daniel Bigger when he was 18.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good because, and like Anybody who has ever heard me talk before in any walk of life will know my disdain for hearing Sean Holly's voice anywhere, because all he does is tell you that he used to be a coach, and he never told you about the fact that he was a terrible coach and got fired by virtually every club and under the sun. But yeah, for Dan Bigger to just stab him in the back like that. And he basically just said, yeah, I've been ignoring Sean Holly's calls for the last 12 years and, airing his texts.
It's lovely stuff. I want more.
Like,
fucking Rock Nation wants to kind of make rugby more marketable. And I've said it before, but rugby union should lean hard into WWE.
Yeah.
And just be like, I want heels. I want fucking all of that stuff. I want trash talking. I just want it all. Let's fucking let's tack heavy into the fucking sports entertainment wound, guys.
Do you remember a few years ago when Bristol were good and Callum Sheedy said in a post-match interview, like, oh yeah, before Pat Lam came in, we had no vision and the coaches didn't know what they were doing. Just dropped Sean Holly and Andy Robinson in it like that. And just said, yeah, we had shit coaches before this, and it's just I'm just here for more players just dropping that man.
So much more of this.
Yeah.
So on the old Facebook group, then James Mackay Mount says, "Good is I've helped a Ukrainian family find a sponsor to move to the UK." Which
that's
fair fucking play, mate.
Yeah.
Shit. He says there's no guarantee of how long it'll take the government to issue the visas, but still, Jesus fucking Christ, man, that's good. A good to end all goods
on that thing. That's exceptionally good. It really puts Nigel Walker in context.
Exactly, it does. Nigel fucking needs to buck his ideas up, honestly.
Yeah.
Michael Nixon says that good is S4C's late night comedy show Scarlets versus Dry Guy. Two haphazard rugby teams going at it with a referee on work experience. The sound quality wasn't great. They really nailed the looking like an amateur rugby team aesthetic. I think that's a bit harsh, but it was a very silly game.
Yeah. I like the sentiment of that.
Yeah. Friend of the pod and Munster correspondent Patricia Vieira gets in touch to say that good is those European nights at Thomond Park, obviously. But shit, Ed Sheeran for coming in to play his little songs on what should have been another one of those European nights at Thomond Park. We haven't talked about this, but honestly, how little did the IRFU think of Munster this year that they booked 3-4 nights of fucking Ed Sheeran at Thomond when a European knockout could have been happening.
I saw again. So Tom from the Free Red Kings made a lot of very valid points about the fact that in the last couple of seasons, these particular fixtures have lined up kind of a month earlier. So that's probably why the error was made. And you know what? Fair enough, or whatever. But I think there's only one solution, which is just double book it and worry about it later. Ask for forgiveness or permission. Just have Ed Sheeran playing fullback.
Yeah. Oh yes. I mean, to be fair, who wouldn't enjoy watching Antoine Dupont sell Ed Sheeran down the river with an outrageous dummy and then score under the post? Look, I mean, Munster fans wouldn't, but
I've got respect for Ed Sheeran. I think he's clearly a nice lad and everything, but that doesn't mean I don't want to see what would happen if he tried to tackle Damien Dialande.
I mean, yeah. Or let's be honest, he has a lot of making up to do with the island of Ireland for his song Galway Girl.
Yeah,
right. And I feel like starting at number 8 for Toulouse would be a good way for him to start making
punishment. Yeah. Like you have to, you have to run into the heart of the Munster defense X amount of times, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like I think you're spot on there.
Yeah, and as you say, I just want to see Damien Dialande posterize Ed Sheeran, just trampling Ed Sheeran into the. And again, I briefly met him at NAM a couple of years ago. He seemed like a really nice guy.
Yeah,
really genuinely a thoroughly solid bloke and a normal guy, and I'm sure he would happily put himself to start a tight head prop against Munster if he thought it would make everybody happy. So
it does also mean that Munster and just probably the Aviva as well will have to remove any Ed Sheeran songs from their playlists for the rest of the season.
Big time.
Or else there'll be a lot of uproar about that. Indeed. And to be honest, that's probably for the best either way.
I think it probably is as well. Stuart Pavitt gets in touch to say via Twitter, good is that Leicester versus Leinster is going to shut up about half of the annoying fans in the world one way or another. And yes, that is true.
That's
one
fair.
way or another. Two of rugby's more tedious fan bases. And tedious because you're just fucking good. Sorry.
Yeah.
One
We
of
say
them's going to be
tedious out of jealousy.
Yeah, one of them's going to be miserable in a couple of weeks' time, and the rest of us will enjoy that. Unironically.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment.
And then finally, LGT and gets in touch via Twitter to say, good is Olivier Azam slapping down arch wonk Stephen Jones after he tweeted that Montpellier's team selection against Quins was undermining the credibility of the Champions Cup. To which, of course, the Montpellier scrum coach responded on Twitter. Turns out we took it very seriously. Unfortunately, you can't account for injuries. We're always in it to win it, and it's offensive that you would think otherwise. No need to be controversial to get retweets and likes. God, I wish he'd listened to that part. The only person undermining things is you. Happy Easter. I love the Happy Easter sign off there.
It's like, I bet that Stephen Jones responded to that by saying, "Oh, you clearly didn't watch the game. Blocked."
I can't remember what he called me before he blocked me, but it was
was it a non-entity?
He called me a non-entity. That is his usual one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've not been blocked by him yet because I only shit talk him on podcasts rather than on Twitter.
See, I was like that for a long time as well, and then he said something ridiculous about Saracens, and I made fun of him, and that was all it took, obviously.
I mean, it's a kind of a big trump card I've got. Like, I need to go out in style on that. I've been blocked by Jiffy for not tagging him, but calling him out for not knowing what 5022 is.
Yeah, which absolutely worth it.
My biggest feat is I've been blocked by Clive Woodward, which not many people have. It's because he name searches. I've never tagged him in a tweet. I've never done any of that. He has name searched because it was like a long while after I will have chatted shit about it, which I do a lot. And I think Stephen Jones is kind of the big one that it happens to everybody, right? Him and Austin Healey happens to everybody. And like I probably said something nasty to Austin Healey when I was like 14 and, regret it now. But it is what it is. It happens to everybody.
I can honestly say I don't. Austin Healey regrets nothing about his life, and you shouldn't regret anything.
That's fair. But yeah, I have to find the best way to get blocked by Stephen Jones, and eventually it will happen.
Save it for a big birthday or a special occasion or something.
Yeah. I remember when Robbie, obviously Squidge, said that when he surpassed Stephen Jones's number of followers, he said, "Right now, I need to find the perfect time to have Stephen Jones call me out on something. I call him a non-entity and block him." Which would have been perfect.
And did that lead to him blocking him? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if that happened, but if it did, then there's a story for you.
Indeed, I can't wait for that to happen one day, Sunday soon.
Yes.
So there we go. Plus, let's face it, the only thing undermining the Champions Cup this year is the fact that Sale are somewhere in the quarterfinals. So, I mean, come on.
Hey, if they go out, you can still have it down that they finish 6th.
Yes, indeed. That's very true. It's their natural state of things, although I'm not sure it even is anymore.
No,
I think Worcester's new state is 6th, but that'll happen in a couple of years.
That feels wrong, though. Worcester are 13th because I say so.
Oh, maybe it's like double. So like, his Worcester.
No, it's something about the colour of the kits is off-putting. They're in 13th.
Okay, I'm with you. None of the Worcester fans that we have that listen to us will agree with you, but I
no, I'm just bullying Worcester for no reason. I don't know why.
Well, that's kind of what the rest of the Premiership has done for the last 2 decades, isn't it? So
it's true. Yeah.
Anyway, we should draw this to a close.
Yes,
I feel.
We should.
On that note of ragging on Worcester and Sale, as is traditional.
Yes.
Will, it has been a pleasure and a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you.
Actually, before we go, Harley Worthy says a final good. Franz Stein necking that point. Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I love late period having a lovely time at all times, Franz Stein.
Taking one sip of a pint and the whole thing disappearing down your goal.
Literally.
Incredible.
There is a man who has done he has done that a lot. A lot. Yeah. Good Lord.
Yeah.
But
it looked so natural in a way downing a pint never should. I loved it.
Yeah. It was like you saw. It was like a sort of reverse. You know how like a boa constrictor can sort of like dislocate its jaw.
Yeah.
to just swallow larger prey.
Yeah.
Franz Stein is like a beer boa constrictor, or the pints boa constrictor, one of the two, and it just disappeared. It was like a magic trick.
It really was.
Franz Stein's special magic trick is to make pints
Sipping a
disappear.
whole pint of beer.
and that poor lad that got plastered across BT Sports and across Twitter at the Leicester game for trying and failing to neck a pint. Like the two extremes of that.
Yeah.
Of like thinking he can down a pint, somebody slapping him on the back, and then just absolutely fucking smashing it.
Yeah. I think some of it even came back up. It was nightmare.
Cool. Well, it has been a pleasure now that we've got the Franz Stein stuff out of the way.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Josh.
It's been a pleasure. You can come back again. I'm sure Lee will be hopefully fit and well and back next week. Thank you, everybody else, for listening. It has been a pleasure and a privilege. Take care.
Bye.